Hello. Hi, chat. Hi, guys. Welcome. Hope you're having a fantastic day today. How y'all doing? Hope it's a good one so far. Hello, Froststorm. Hello, Pickle. Hello, One Duck. Hello, Jailton. Hello, Cookie. Hello, Wiggly. Hello, Jar Jar. Hello, Noah. Hello, Icy Frost. Oh, get those stretches in, everyone. Get nice and stretched out. Nothing feels better than getting fully stretched out. Today, we're gonna learn about Five Nights at Freddy's. Why do I feel like I'm 8 years late to this party? Hello! What's going on, guys? Welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is in your time zone. We're gonna have a fun stream today. We're gonna learn. It's gonna be a good time. Hello, guys. Wolf, thank you so much for the first super chat of the day. Thank you very much indeed. The lore is confusing. Yeah. Yeah, no, I can imagine. I'm not playing the games because I'm not very good at Five Nights at Freddy games. Hello, Cookie. Thank you so much for the $2. Thank you very much. Lore time. Pog. Lore time. Let's go. Hello. Hello, Serenity. Hello, Andy. Hello, Alex. Hello, Dakota. Hello, Isa. Is it the Bite of 87? I have a very surface level knowledge of Five Nights at Freddy's that I'm going to take into this and hope that it will hard carry me a little bit. Hello, Lego! Thank you. What game will you and Luke do another shiny look in next? It is in the works. I won't say what yet, but it is in the works. We've been getting some shiny. We've been getting some new shiny forms for our new shiny lock. Have you heard about the MatPat M Preg fanfic? What? Male pregnancy? What? Oh. No, I haven't. Hello, Craig. Hello, Lazar. Lazar. Hello, Noni. Hello, Wolf. Oh wait, that's
Great
the
to be
first.
here, Pat. Have an
Wow, that's the
amazing
first
day.
super chat.
Heart.
That was the first super chat that came up like 2 minutes ago.
Wow, you did it, Daniel. I always knew that you could. Well done. We're all so impressed. You did it.
I didn't do anything yet.
Lore time. Have fun with this timeline, Pat. Heart.
Thank you. Thank you. And Mr. Mogi, thank you so much for the 5 as well. Appreciate that. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for supporting the channel. I really appreciate that. There's a canon FNAF book where a guy named Matt gets pregnant with a baby animatronic. Maybe we'll do like Metal Gear Solid lore instead.
This is my first stream I caught live. FNAF lore is so weird, but I've been following it since the beginning.
Thank you, Mr. Mogi. Thank you so much for the 5. I love having you here, man. Thank you very much. The baby is from Springtrap, and it bursts out of his stomach like an alien. Okay. All right. The male pregnancy is not actually canon. Why not? Chess, I have to thank you first. Thank you so much for helping us raise $2,620 for Gamers Outreach yesterday, a charity that helps bring video games to hospitalized kids. We did that yesterday in yesterday's stream. If you haven't, please go and check it out. It was a really, really good stream. It was a ton of fun. It was a really good stream concept. If I said the word, a Pokemon would die, and you guys could make the words by donating to charity. That was awesome. So we did a good thing. We did a great thing. I think that was great. And now today, we're gonna take on our next big challenge. Learning the Five Nights at Freddy's lore via Game 3 review videos in the timeline released started 1 month ago. We will learn Five Nights at Freddy's lore today. Let's go! Can you imagine if I watched like the first one? Oh god, there's so many. We were wrong about the bite 5 years ago. Oh my god. Oh boy. No, well, it would be physically impossible to do the entire playlist, I think. I don't think that's even humanly achievable by any one person. How you guys all doing? Hope you're having a good one. Gonna watch all... There's not 70 videos. There's no way he did 70 of them. Where's the Five Nights at Freddy's theory one? Five Nights at Freddy's. There's 59 Five Nights at Freddy's videos. Oh my god. Five Nights at Freddy's Mystery Solved. Second half. Wait. Hold on. Five Nights at Freddy's This Is the End 4 years ago. Oh my god. I love how he never titles a video with like the final video because he knows it's never gonna end. Dakota, thank you so much for the 2. Appreciate that. Make the chat a little bit better. Oh no, that's what we're gonna watch today. We're gonna watch the Ultimate Timeline.
Wow, you did it, Daniel. I always knew that you could. Well done. We're all so impressed. You did it.
Let's go.
If you want to know the lore, Ultimate Time shows it.
The song is so good. I'm so glad that we can actually put classical music on stream now because it's not copyright claimed, so I can just play this. Builds up so much hype, man. It's gonna be amazing. Will I play? I'm not very good at those types of games. Gonna copyright claim you from the grave? Well, no. So the songs aren't copyright claims, not copyright claimable. But the covers of the songs, the recordings of the songs can be copyright claimed. But Ludwig and Schlatt put a ton of money into making a version that wouldn't be copyright claimed, which is this one that we're listening to. So that's actually really cool. This, however, is Mario music, and Nintendo can kill me at any time. Just checking to see if those ninjas out the window. Beethoven React stream, let's go. Let's go. Yes, Nintendo can kill me at any time they want, unfortunately. Hopefully that doesn't happen though. Ludwig can claim? Yeah, but he pinky swore that he wouldn't. Is illegal to speak Spanish here? No, but I don't speak Spanish, so we keep it in English, because if you speak in Spanish, then we don't know what you're saying, and then we can't moderate it. You could be saying anything. I thought this was more Patterrz. I was thinking about doing this stream on more Patterrz. I'm gonna upload the video on more Patterrz once the whole thing is done. But I decided to stream on this channel because, you know, it's gaming related, and I assume that a lot of people that subscribe to this channel kind of like game theory and MatPat stuff and Five Nights at Freddy's. So I decided to stream on this one. Can I speak in Polish? I can only speak in English. British. A little bit of Scottish, not too much. I dabble in Scottish as well. Oh, and of course, there is a new big video on early access for all of you wonderful members. It will be going up public after this stream today, but like I said, if you want to get early access to cool new videos, then you can become a member if you want to. Oh no, I'm gonna become Pokerfurlax 2.0. Yeah, I might do. I'm sure most of you guys know that situation. The company that runs the Pokemon anime basically took down put 2 copyright strikes on a YouTube channel that only used screenshots of the anime. It's ridiculous. Screenshots, man. Screenshots. Yeah, I speak Jawa. No, I speak Dragonborn from Skyrim. That's what I learned. Would you like to learn a second language? Oh, I would love to. I would love to learn either Spanish or, I don't know, maybe Japanese, maybe Chinese, something like that. That'd be sick. Have you started watching them? No, I didn't watch them on purpose because I wanted to save it for the reaction stream. So I don't know anything about these theories. I wanted to save it for when we could all watch it together because I don't want to pre-watch it and spoil myself and then not have a proper reaction when we watch it. Also, just so we're all aware, there is a chance that this stream dies because I reacted to a style theory, the first style theory, and the stream got taken down. Live, it got taken down. So I want you to know, at any points, this stream can randomly get deleted. But I don't think that will happen to game theories, because I've tested game theories, and game theories seem to be safe. But I can't react to style theories, which is unfortunate because style theories seemed cool, and I don't know anything about clothing, and I don't know anything about fashion or looking good, so I thought it'd be cool to react to a few of those, but we're not allowed to. I think that game theories are fine, though. In theory, game theories are fine. In theory. But style theories are not fine. Matt Pat might send some shooters after me. The style theory got snipers. They got gunners. It got taken down for copyright. You're not allowed to watch style theory. I uploaded a video of on my second channel. I had to cut out so much to get it past the copyright things. I think it might be the new owners. I don't wear clothes. I mean, dude, look at me. Do I look like a person that knows how to dress themselves? Do I know like a person that knows how to make themselves look good? Yeah. No, exactly. So I wanted to learn from style theory. Chat, you're supposed to say yes to make me feel better. What's wrong with you? You're supposed to say yes. You're a fully grown adult? That doesn't mean anything. What does that mean? I bet he's not even wearing pants. I'm wearing pajama pants because I work from home. I can wear what I want. What are you gonna do? Scream and cry? Are you gonna piss yourself? Also, I just want to say, I'm looking forward to this stream because I had a terrible morning. So I hope that this will make it better. Hanging out with you guys, just watching some game theory. So I hope you have a good day. I had a really terrible morning this morning. So hopefully this will make it even better. Peepo Shy. I went to hang out with you guys, watch some game theory, have a good time. What happened this morning? Dude, it's like 7,000 little things. And I'm sure most people that clicked on the stream don't care about that, and they want to just like, oh, put the map pad on. I want to see map pad. Did the gym close? No, the gym didn't close, thankfully. Vam, thank you so much for the 7 months. Hope so. Yes, exactly. Start reacting, exactly. Put the video on streamer. But that's what we're gonna do today. Which I think starts from this one, and then we go on to... Oh, Vam, thank you so much for the gifty. Thank you, I appreciate that. Thank you very much indeed. First gifty of the day, I appreciate that. Why is that so big on the screen? What the hell happened? I don't know why it looks like that. I feel like it shouldn't look like that. That's so strange. So we start with this one, the Ultimate Timeline, and then we go into the Rise of Afton Ultimate Timeline, and then we go into FNAF Burn Them All Ultimate Timeline. Do you have your food ready? Are you ready to watch? Let's go. Let's go. It's correct. Oh, I need to do an intro. I need to do an intro for the YouTube video. Okay. God, how do I do intros? It's so nerve-wracking when I have to do an intro live because I might do it off screen. No, I'll try and do it live. Oh, no, I just put more pressure on myself by saying that it's going to be hard. Now I've just put more pressure on myself when I should be good at this by now. Oh God, you're there. And okay. All right. Can do this. It's literally just introducing a video. That's all it is. It's not anything more than that. Namu, thank you so much for becoming a super noodle. Make sure you get your claim in, Namu. It's in the YouTube community tab. Thank you. All right, just ignore us. Okay, that's fine. It's fine. It's like I'm in my office by myself. Everything is okay. My mind has gone blank. Should I do this off screen? Okay, I'm gonna try and do it. Oh God, you're like gifting memberships now. The Traveler, thank you so much for the gift. I really appreciate that. What am I gonna start with? Hey, I'm Daniel. I haven't FNAF'd in fuck. No. Okay. I like Matt Pat. No, that's not a good intro. How about we do like Five Nights at Freddy's is the biggest horror. You know, I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna hit the start recording button. Thank you, BT Stink. I appreciate that. Thank you. Five Nights at Freddy's has been out. Fuck. Sorry. Five Nights at Freddy's has been out for so long, and literally everyone has talked to death about it already. However, I don't really know much about the series. In fact, I have a very surface level knowledge. The only time I've ever played one of the games is 8 years ago, in that video right there, where I made How Not to Play Five Nights at Freddy's 2, where I played it for 10 minutes, 10 seconds, and that's it. That's all I really know. I've tried watching game theories in the past, but it always seems to escape me. So today, we're gonna learn as much as we possibly can from Matt Pat's Game Theory Ultimate Timeline of FNAF. How much will we learn? Lots, hopefully. All right, take it away, Matt Pat. I'm ready.
Today we end the torment. 19
God,
books,
finally.
11 games, 8 whole years, all leading to this moment. The ultimate
19 books.
FNAF timeline is finally complete. The pieces are in place for us. Now all we have to do is put this story of tragedy, jealousy, and loss back together. Hello, Internet! Welcome
ready.
to Game Theory, the show that feels like a kid revealing the class project that he's been working on all year. Except here, it's the class project that I've been working on for the past decade of my life. This one.
We checked how many videos there were in this playlist before the stream started. It turns out that there are 59 Five Nights at Freddy's game theories, and he's not done yet.
One is big, my friends, and I gotta admit, kind of nervous.
I love it.
I haven't attempted to.
I have to say, I am a big game theory fan. I enjoy it. I love the way it's presented. I love the effort that comes into all of these videos, considering they're on a weekly basis. I love how in-depth they are. Of course, they're not going to get everything right, but I think that that's fine, because you wouldn't get everything right either. And if I wanted to just sit there and read a book on all the accurate lore knowledge, I would go into a Reddit post about a person that had spent way too long, way too many hours in the basement typing out Five Nights at Freddy's lore. But I actually want to watch something pretty entertaining too.
The timeline video on
Take
this
a look at
franchise
this.
since 2018. Back in the days when Mike was the crying child, Afton coming back was actually a surprise, and Fazgoo wasn't a phrase I'd ever thought I'd have to utter. But since the last time I did something like this, we've had 3 more massive games, the death and revival of the FNAF movie, and more robot kids than you can shake a staff bot at. It is exhausting trying to keep track of this whole franchise, which honestly is why I'm here today. The lore at this point is complicated. It is full of speculation and theory, so to
That's why
hopefully
I'm
make
here,
it a
Matt
little
Pat.
easier for everyone and to give us all a baseline to talk about this franchise moving forward into the future, it's time to reveal my current working FNAF timeline. But just before I do, I just want to...
I love how all of this, he's gonna make like 5 videos on this timeline. All of this is just to have a baseline of, okay, now we can talk about it. Now we can speculate a
explain
little
a couple
bit.
of things. First, this timeline is
This is like Kingdom Hearts and Kirby all juiced into one thing, and Metal Gear. Throw Metal Gear into that as well.
massive. Seriously, it is huge. This thing towers over any video project we have ever done on the channel. But when you look at the totality of this franchise, the story of FNAF really boils down to the story of one man, William Afton. His successes, his
Purple guy.
failures, his rise to becoming co-owner of one of the most successful restaurant franchises in the world, and his eventual fall to the monsters he helped to create, only to then be reborn in a new digital form later. That's why I've decided to split this timeline into
What?
3 main chunks. The foundation of Freddy's, how the business started and how it came into being, the Afton era, William's
There's no way that a Freddy Fazbear's pizza that looks like that will become one of the most best-selling franchises in the world. That makes no sense. It's like Chuck E. Cheese, Nightmare Edition. Who's going to this? Who looks at Freddy Fazbear's pizza and they're like, ooh, seems like some family fun. Let's go over there and get a margarita pizza.
decades-long murder spree, and post-Purple Guy. Basically modern FNAF. Everything that happens after the Pizzeria Simulator fire.
Chuck
And
E.
because
Cheese is
there are
not that
lots
big.
of new big revelations in this thing that seemingly come out of nowhere, as well as just points I want to talk about further, I decided to dedicate one episode to each chunk. I originally wanted it to be one seamless, continuous video, but it just felt incomplete without some sort of explanation at the end of each one. Once this whole thing's done, I promise I'm gonna merge all the narrative bits into one massive video so you can just skip my explanations. But for now, now, this just felt like the best, most satisfying,
Well, no, I need the explanation, so I'm glad that you did
most
this.
complete way to do
Also,
this.
more
That
ad
being said,
revenue.
this is still about the story, the broad strokes of the franchise. So in order to make sure that you guys know that I'm not just pulling answers out of thin air, not only am I discussing some of the more controversial bits at the end of each chunk, we're also putting in a handy little graphic in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, which will show thumbnails, video titles, books, and any other citations that we need throughout the video. So if you wish to understand
Did he just cite his own theory?
that specific statement
I
in
think
more
he did.
detail, you know exactly where we've taken it from. That way you can look into those details for yourself. So sit back, grab some popcorn, or your pitchforks if you're the type to get upset when I say something controversial, and make sure
Oh, that's you, chat! I saw so many people like, MadPad gets all of his theories wrong. There's so many incorrect parts of this. It's like, well, yeah, there might be incorrect parts of this, but there's going to be incorrect parts of every theory. The entire idea behind a theory is that you are making things up as you go, using evidence, using sources, and the best that you can cobble together, but you're making things up.
sure that you subscribe, since this is going to be a video that you're going to want to come back to a few times in order to fully dissect. Without any more waiting,
Okay.
I present to you the story of a loving, obsessive father who slowly descended into madness, and along the way, discovered the secret to eternal life.
It's dressing up as a bunny, apparently.
Our story begins not in the 1980s, or even in the 1970s, but all the way back in the 1930s. It was the throes of the
Dude,
Great
nothing good happened in the 1930s. I can think of one thing that happened in the 1930s. Wasn't that
Depression.
great?
People were in desperate need of cheap entertainment, especially in Utah, one of the states hit hardest, fourth highest unemployment in the
15
nation,
people
and
in
full
Utah.
of transients. People looking for work in Salt Lake, finding none, and ultimately moving on to find their fortunes out in California. People were tired and they were hungry, but as they traveled, there was one thing that could lift their spirits: a simple roadside attraction called Fredbear's Singin' Show. The ads were plastered all over town, featuring an
Oh, this
animated
stuff's
bear
way
drawn in
earlier
the
than I
popular
thought it did.
pie-eyed cartoon style for characters at the time. He resembled
50 cent general admission? I feel like that's high for 1930s.
cartoons like Mickey Mouse, Felix the Cat, Betty Boop. It immediately said that this, Fredbear's, was a place where you could bring the family. And the price, honestly, couldn't be beat. For 50 cents, you
Oh,
could
really?
get food
Never mind.
and entertainment as you watch
Oh, you get food? Never mind, just take it back.
the local trained real-life dancing bear perform on stage. Normally, you only got to see dancing bears at large traveling circuses like Barnum and Bailey, where the tickets would go for about $1. That's $1 without food. But this was a smaller show.
What a rip! A whole dollar?
The type from the Von
With inflation, that's like $7,000.
Brothers or the Robbins Brothers, where tickets would sell for just a mere 50 cents. Watching that bear do tricks on stage brought a glimmer of joy at a time when so much was wrong with the world. The simple
Knowing the series, they're probably going to take the bear and strip it for parts after it dies and turn it into the Freddy
show would
Fazbear.
go on for years, bringing happiness to hundreds of travelers passing through looking for a quick meal. But it left a permanent impression on one little boy, capturing his imagination in a way that nothing else had. One little boy named Billy. That was his nickname at least, but his parents liked to call him William Afton. The bear
His parents like to call him Purple Guy. Purple Guy Afton.
could dance. It could sing. For decades, William dreamed of recreating that moment of bringing a musical bear to life, but how? William was smart, without a doubt, and he had a keen mind for business, but he wasn't the most creative. How do you make a singing, dancing bear come to life? The best he could do was using rudimentary costumes. William was inspired by the work of Walt Disney, who throughout the 50s and 60s was pioneering the use of mascot suits throughout
How close to real life is the Five Nights at Freddy's lore? Is this actual real life? Is there a Disney in the Five Nights at Freddy's lore? Is this...
his theme park. The big innovation, suits with 5 fingers. This allowed the performers wearing
That's
the
an
suits to use
innovation.
their natural arms and hands to interact with the guests, as opposed to the older models where the arms would just hang limply by their sides. Finally, with a simple mascot suit, he would be able to realize his childhood dream. He would be able to bring Fredbear to life. To appeal to the kids, and for copyright reasons, he changed Fredbear from a realistic brown animal to a cartoonish yellow bear with a purple hat and bow tie. But feeling like one character wasn't enough, he added another friend, a yellow rabbit with a purple vest and matching tie named Bonnie the Bunny. Well, Fred
Oh, I do not like him. He is not safe for work. Christ almighty, what's that stare? Kids like
Bear
this stuff?
was certainly his first love. Bonnie was extra special because that was his. It was an original character that he had created from scratch. And I
Oh no, it's like the Sonic OC artists of the 1930s. He's making Bonnie the
Do you
Hedgehog.
mean scratch? William's hand-sewn costumes were rough, with seams and stitches visibly showing, but it was the best that he could do. And you know what? It was just enough. Bonnie and Fredbear would perform on stage to small but enthusiastic crowds. Finally, he was able to deliver fantasy and fun to all the kids, delighting and inspiring them in the exact way that he had been delighted and inspired.
Yeah,
so
those
many
kids
years
look delighted and inspired. If I looked delighted and inspired, that's what I'd look
ago.
like.
And things could have ended there. That could have been the end to his story. It could have been perfect had it not been for one thing. Other people saw the success of his idea and they wanted in. Enter
No,
Chica's
they
Party
didn't.
World, a rival
No.
restaurant starring performing animal characters. His
Wait a minute. Okay, I've been through this before. Just because someone makes something that is like something else doesn't mean it is a direct copy or a rip. Maybe they just had the same idea. It's a bunny. You got a bunny, they got a bear, and this is a duck. It's just a duck. There's no intellectual property rights. There's no copyrights against using an animal in their pizzeria or their cafe or their restaurant to entertain kids because kids like animals. There's nothing. You can't copyright claim that. You know, I don't like this purple guy.
idea,
I think he's a bad
except
guy.
they did it better. William may have been the first, but obviously he wasn't the best. It hurt the prideful William Afton to admit it, but this restaurant was able to do the thing that he always wanted to do, make the animals actually come to life. All of the performers in this restaurant were robots, simple metal skeletons that were powered by battery packs, but all of them able to freely turn and talk
Wait, they
and
had that in
dance
the
on their
1940s?
own, no human required. It was like magic that came from the mind of a brilliant creator named Henry Emily. This Henry, in some small way, had been able to harness the power of life itself. Afton admired him. He was jealous, to be
How old was William Purple Guy when the World War II ended? He was talking about the 1930s, right? So I mean, realistically, he might have been old enough to be shipped off to World War II when that happens. Maybe that would have been the better ending.
sure, but he also looked upon this man with awe. Off to one side of Chica's Party World was a small cabaret stage featuring an elephant magician. On the other, a hippo known to ramble on and on. That one was more of a joke for the parents, but it was the main stage that was for the kids. A rocking band of characters featuring a yellow chicken thing with a
Come on, look at it. Look at it. I know that this is not. Withered Chica was the original stage performer. However, undamaged render doesn't exist. Okay, so it's not damaged. All right, I understand. But when you show me that, and you're like, the kids love them. I'm like, oh, yeah, no, I can see why.
southern drawl named Chica, backed by a band
Don't
of
say
other
Smash.
country-themed characters, including a pig with a banjo, an upbeat frog from the local swimming hole, and a brown bear with a heavy southern accent. Wait, a bear? But bears were his animals. Why not
Oh,
a cow
no.
or a horse? Something to fit the country theme a bit better. Why did it have to be a bear? And adding insult to injury, they had the nerve to call
There are
this
bears in the
thing
country.
Ned Bear, a
Oh, okay, never mind. I take it back. Okay, he's clearly ripped the idea. But what is worse? Ripping the idea and doing it worse, or ripping the idea and doing it better? He's ripped the idea, he's a yoink and twist here. Is essentially what it's come down to. I think that if he changed the name, then that would have been fine. It wouldn't have been Freddy Fazbear. It would have been something totally different. It's okay to use a bear. We do a little bit of yoink and twisting. We do this on YouTube all of the time. People take ideas from each other. We take them and we modify them. And we make them better. We try to make the best version of a video that we possibly can. And it's okay if you take ideas from something else. Just don't call it Ned Bear. If we didn't call it Ned Bear, none of the Five Nights at Freddy stuff would have happened.
direct copy of his own Fredbear.
Whoops, that's gonna leave a mark.
No, that was not okay. Afton's jealous admiration turned to hardened bitterness. A bitterness that would only grow over the next couple of years as families continued to choose Chica's Party World over Fredbear's. William just couldn't compete with the appeal of the robots. Eventually, his restaurant would go bankrupt, only to get bailed out by, of course, Henry Emily. Another insult, another humiliation that William wouldn't soon forget.
Oh no, this is like the Breaking Bad episode where the friends of the family are like, well, to pay for your cancer treatment, and Walt's like, no, I need to go cook meth instead.
1979. Despite being bitter, Afton couldn't deny that what came next was a period of massive success and expansion. With the two franchises now merged into one, it was the best of both worlds. Afton's ideas with Henry's robotic expertise. The two men decided to launch under a new name, Fredbear's Family Diner, a pizza chain that would eventually come to feature a mix of humans in performing suits as well as on-stage animatronics. They decided to stick with Fredbear as the headliner, considering the yellow bear was easily identifiable as a brand and because he was the original performing animal mascot. Afton
Oh, he bought up the restaurant so that he'd get all those characters because he was like, ooh, I like those characters, let me have them. But that's just capitalism, baby. Henry Emily's doing ultimate capitalism right now. That's you gotta be.
This new restaurant would
If you live in America, you're probably like, yeah, this is
also see a
awesome.
mix of characters as the two franchises merged into one, with Pig Patch and Happy Frog performing right alongside Fredbear and Bonnie. And as part of this one big
I didn't know there
Fredbear
was a pig and a
family,
frog.
they even got themselves official merch that were released, ranging from masks to magnets.
The crappy Mr. Hippo fridge magnet?
I'm sorry, Gregory.
That said, not all the characters were winners. The reception to some characters was just mediocre, so they faded away into the dumpster, storage units, and retro budget tech stores of lost nostalgia, waiting for their
No,
chance.
hippos are sick. Hippos are such an underrated animal. They're actually some of the most dangerous animals on the planet. Hippos need more love, frankly. But also, they're very scary. They need love and they need
to
respect.
step back into the limelight if and when a headliner went out of commission. Others, though, would fare much better, like a new pirate fox, as well as a blue guitar-playing variant of the yellow Bonnie Bunny. Ultimately, the
Now that sucks. To be honest, the fox one's sick. The new Bonnie, don't like
would
that.
get so big it would spawn its own cartoon show, Fredbear and Friends. Business was booming. In the end, Fredbear and Bonnie's popularity would be so strong that they would be able to support the Fredbear's Family Diner franchise all on their own, while also spinning off a new sister location dedicated to their friends. In 1983, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza launched, giving a dedicated home to all this new supporting cast of characters. Chica the Chicken, Bonnie the Blue Bunny, Foxy the Pirate, and of course the headliner, a brown Freddy Fazbear.
Oh, so that's the one from the first game then, because that has all the original characters from the first
Business
game.
was good, and Afton was happy, mostly. It did bother him that the one original character that he created, the one that he himself played, Golden Bonnie, got passed over for inclusion in that cartoon show. The only character in the roster of
Wouldn't he still own the intellectual rights to it though? I mean, I understand that his restaurant was bought out by Henry Emily, but does he also sign away the rights to all of his characters so that he couldn't have any kind of control whatsoever? What kind of control does Purple Guy even have now over these businesses? What is he even doing there?
regulars to get ignored for the show, but other than that, things were going smoothly. He had himself a wife, 2 sons, a daughter. He had a thriving business, and best of all, he was able to learn the craft of robotics from the man that he both loved and hated, Henry. Together, they were constantly pushing the limits of what these characters could do. Because it was quick and easy, new characters introduced into the roster would be given a simple hand-sewn suit with 5 fingers that any performer could wear. Eventually, Henry would design one of his signature animatronics for that character, utilizing a divided mouth with either a hinged or sliding jaw design. This was the first generation of animatronics, but
Why are there 2 sets of teeth in all of them? Is that just a horror element, or did they actually design that for a reason? Is there a reason that an animatronic would need a second set of teeth behind
why
the
stop
first?
there? Afton had big
They don't eat
ideas.
things.
What if the animatronics weren't just locked to the stage, but could freely roam the restaurant and interact with the kids? What if his mascot suits could
Yeah, Gen 1, this is the Kanto of Five Nights at Freddy's.
become animatronics? What if you could use more than just rigid metallic skeletons? Why not experiment with tubes and wires that would give the animatronics fluidity and
Endoskeleton, Jesus Christ, I swear, an entire generation of kids learned that word. There is no way that anyone knows what an endoskeleton is if it's not for Five Nights at Freddy's. Now everyone types that word out. It's the biggest word that 5-year-olds know nowadays.
flexibility while still providing structure. The possibilities for this technology were endless. Afton fell in love with robotics. He had started with a dream of bringing one simple singing bear to
Yeah, I
life,
didn't know
but
what it
with
meant either.
robots, he had stumbled across the tools that gave him the ability to control life itself. And thanks to Henry, he was practically
Okay.
speedrunning his way to an engineering degree. And while William wouldn't admit it out loud, one other thing that kept pushing him forward was the desire to beat his former rival, to prove himself smarter and more capable, to surpass the man who everyone else considered to be a visionary genius. But
I mean, he's probably fine with that as well, because he technically owns the company since he bought it out.
pride
So
comes
he's like,
before
yeah,
the
no,
fall,
that's okay.
and tragedy was
Purple Guy is now working extra hard to make Henry more money.
about to strike. Okay, so that brings us to the end of part 1 of the story. That said, at the end of each of these chunks, I want to break down some of the logical
All right,
leaps
break
that I
it down.
made, since
Break
the
it down,
more
Matt.
narrative format doesn't give
Here
me
we
much
go,
of a
break it
chance
down.
to justify a lot of the big decisions. And admittedly, there are some large leaps in here. Let's just start off with Fredbear's Singin' Show, shall we? We know, based on the retro poster that was hidden in Security Breach, that at least at one point, Fredbear was an actual bear. And like I called out in that narrative segment, dancing bear shows were a real form of entertainment. The only problem is that
Oh, did he make it up?
timing-wise, none of our main characters would be the people in charge of that business in the 30s and a series of pizza restaurants in the 80s without him just being extremely old. Best case scenario, if Afton's running the Singin' Show when he's 18, that still puts him at nearly 70 when the first pizzeria opened.
I think it's fine to make things up. I mean, that's what literally it is, right? It's a theory. You fill in the gaps of the evidence that you have with things that you think could make sense. That's the entire point of a theory. That's what a theory is, right?
And his murder spree
But then again, I guess gravity is a theory, so...
begins. That just doesn't make a lot of logical sense because he doesn't become immortal until his first death in Springtrap. That's why I suspect that Fredbear's Singin' Show was either a family business that Afton then carried on to a new generation, or something that he saw as a kid and just wanted to recreate when he grew up. The Fredbear Singin' Show thing also starts laying the groundwork for some of the core elements of this story, that Freddy's was a place of fantasy and fun, and that Afton, despite eventually falling to become the heartless serial killer and mad scientist that we know him as, began as someone with good intentions and a love of entertaining kids. He wanted to bring things to life from the very beginning, a theme that recurs a lot for him throughout the rest of the franchise. Next up, let's talk about those mascot costumes. One thing that I keep going back to is the design of Glitch Trap. It's a handcrafted suit. You can
This is Glitch Trap, okay. I mean, you can't die in this one at least. This one's safe.
Everything. It even has 5 fingers for the performer's hands. It is very much
God,
not
he's so creepy.
a Springtrap suit. This is something much more rudimentary.
This is a pretty good design for what I imagine a 1950s version of a costume would look like, though. They're gonna look deranged. Can I find like a 1950s animal character costume? I want to see what they would have looked like in the back then. Oh, dude, they're so... Yeah, they look deranged. Actually, I can't really find that many. There's... It's actually kind of haunted. Why am I getting shown Harley Quinn? And sexy nurses. All right, I can't show you guys this. There's too many sexy nurses. There's so many sexy nurses. Okay, wait, I got this. Vintage Bro, there's no way. This is... Oh, hold on. I don't want to dox myself with this. Look at this. This is what I imagine them to look like. Right here. Look at all this. This is so deranged. That's why I imagine... See, that's why I don't think it's that bad of a costume.
It came at a time before animatronics were a part of the story. That's why I suspect that it was actually the first, predating literally everything. It's also a suit that is very personal to Afton. He put his digital consciousness in that form. It's his personal avatar. It's the way that he sees himself.
He put his digital consciousness in that form. I can't wait till we get to that part.
There's also a whole separate discussion to be had here about the habits and rituals of serial killers. So the fact that he's choosing to lure kids and kill them in this particular suit actually says a lot about his emotional attachment to it. So while Fredbear seems to have started as someone else's creation, Golden Bonnie was uniquely Williams, giving him a personal connection. And that's not all. In this whole franchise, only one set of characters have themselves 5 fingers, the Nightmares. Even Golden Freddy, Fredbear was a 5-fingered wearable suit at one point in the story, as we see in this shot from the graphic novel, before he, like everyone else, was turned into an animatronic. This seems to imply that
I always think it's crazy that you put an endoskeleton inside of a suit that people are also supposed to get into. Bearing in mind, that just sounds a little bit dangerous from a should we do this standpoint, which obviously comes to fruition in the series. But how are you supposed to walk around with that? I know it's probably like a lightweight metal, but that just sounds really heavy, considering suits in general, they're heavy. And you add a metal component of everything a robot is going to need to be able to function? That just sounds heavy. They remove it? Oh, they remove it. That's right. No, they remove it. That's right.
all of the main characters had similar wearable mascot outfits at least at one point in time, and that whoever is having the FNAF 4 nightmares, if they even are nightmares, something that we'll touch on in part 2, saw those mascot suits specifically. Lastly, we have to talk about the elephant in the room. The literal elephant, Orville Elephant, as well as the rest of the mediocre melodies.
Do we have to talk about that one?
Now, I've suspected that the mediocre melodies played a much more important role in the story than just being a bunch more animatronics to fill out.
Damn, imagine being called the mediocre Melanies. It's like calling the standard Steves. The medium Mollies.
Of the roster. Especially Ned Bear, which is just so suspiciously close to Fred Bear. And yet, there are two key details that we're gonna have to justify with any mediocre melodies mention. One, they're very rudimentary with external battery packs, implying that they come very early in the timeline. And two, we know that, at minimum, Mr. Hippo does eventually become an official member of the extended Freddyverse. But if
let's go! The extended Freddyverse B! Seriously, the hippo is so good. The hippo is more dangerous than any of these other animals. It is more likely to murder you than Anything else that you've seen so
These
far
things
today?
are supposed to be cheap, generic rip-offs. Why would you be trying to rip off yourself? You wouldn't. You would be stealing someone else's ideas. So if Afton created Fredbear, there would have to be some rival franchise. The only other person who would likely be ripping him off? Henry. We've talked extensively about how the mediocre melodies are clearly Henry's design aesthetic, so it just has to be him. I don't think Henry's doing this maliciously. He doesn't strike me as the type. He was likely building the robots at the orders of someone else that was running a rival restaurant franchise. But that's
And the
enough
big
motivation
CEO
to start
executives.
Afton down a path of jealous rivalry, but also begrudging admiration. As the Freddy Files Ultimate Edition says, it's important to revisit the beginning of Henry and William's relationship, so here you go. I think this is where it begins. Also, this is future Matt Pat here coming back to add this one in. Seems like
Hi,
the
future Matt
recently
Pat.
released character encyclopedia has backed up all of this speculation. I've had this timeline written for about a month now, but I've also been holding off a bit to see what wrenches this character encyclopedia might throw into it. And on this particular
I can't imagine the stress that comes with sitting down to write the Five Nights at Freddy's Ultimate Timeline, knowing that no matter what you write, there's going to be a legion of 14 to 16-year-olds that grew up with Five Nights at Freddy's throwing pitchforks and torches at you no matter what you say.
point, I gotta say, it seems like we might actually have nailed it. They actively call out the suspicious similarities to the main Fredbear crew. Quote from one of the pages: Ned Bear looks like an imitation, altered just enough to avoid copyright issues. I don't know about you, but that seems to imply that we were right on the money. Knowing all of this, at one point,
Does that really make you a bad person? I understand, like, it's definitely copying a little bit, but there's companies that do that every day and we're fine with it. Like, cola. There's 7 different versions of cola in every single shop that you go to, and no one gets mad about that.
franchises had to have merged. That's really the only way that you get Mr. Hippo from the rival franchise as part of the Fazbear crew. This also mirrors a lot of what happened in the real-life history of Chuck E. Cheese, with 2 rival restaurants, each with their own casts of characters, merging to become one unified brand. Again, we've gone into that in detail with other videos, just wanted to remind you all of that here.
Are these real Chuck E. Cheese characters? Okay, I'm gonna be honest. I think Chuck E. Cheese is more demented than Five Nights at Freddy's characters. Like, reality is more insane than the fiction. They look scarier.
But why would I call out the rival restaurant as being named Chica's Party World? Few things, actually. First, we know for a fact that a location named Chica's Party World exists. It is mentioned in the source code teasing sister location, so it is out there somewhere and doesn't fit cleanly anywhere. Second, in the story The Puppet Carver, Chica is very explicitly looped in with the book versions of Pig Patch and Ned Bear, implying that she started as a mediocre melody. Thirdly, her design just fits better with a theme of down-home country animals with southern accents playing the banjo and eating with bibs. And with her being the headliner of the show with her name on the
Seems a little
restaurant,
racist.
it would make sense then that when the restaurants merged, she was the one that was added to the main cast of characters, while all the other mediocres faded.
Whatever, all these characters suck. We all know that Subnoodle's the greatest character of all time and beats every single one of these easy. Subnoodle clear diffs every Five Nights at Freddy's character, and it's not even a close
Away.
issue.
It's also why
not
when
even a
Freddy's
problem.
closes after William's killing spree, she's the one to branch back off into her old franchise and is therefore missing in sister location. A detail that's bothered me for years at this point. It might also explain why William decided to stuff his first dead kid into Chica. That one was Henry's creation, not his. Is all of this a big leap? Yeah. Is it connecting a lot of dots that are
You think he's like shoving the kid inside of the animatronic like, yeah, Henry, take that. That'll sure show him. Oh, he's gonna be so mad when he finds out. He's gonna come into work and he's gonna look at Chica and be like, oh, I love Chica. He's gonna be like, oh no, there's a dead kid in Chica. Man, that sucks. Oh, I'm so upset now. What the
They're
fuck?
very spread out across the franchise that I've been holding on in the back of my
I'm gonna
mind for
prank him
years.
so good.
Absolutely. But I think it makes sense. It also serves as a clean answer to a lot of the random threads that Scott's been leaving dangling for years. So with all of that in mind, my friends, we can close the book on the foundation of Freddy's. And don't worry, next week I'll be back to give you arguably one of the most confusing parts of this entire timeline situation. Part 2.
Well, why don't we just go back onto that? This is Five Nights at Freddy's. Wait. Five Nights at Freddy's. The Rise of Afton. Ultimate Timeline. Let's go.
And officially page 7 of the FNAF timeline script. Last time we covered the origins of Freddy's. We talked about William Afton's childhood dream project of making a singing bear come to life, and the infuriating moment that his dream is copied by a rival restaurant franchise looking to steal away his success. The merger of the 2 franchises results in William meeting Henry, a brilliant designer with a knack for robotics. Working together, they make Fredbear's flourish, spawning popular Saturday morning cartoon shows, toy lines, and spin-off restaurants under the Fazbear name. When last we left him, Afton was thriving. The world of robotics opening his eyes to new and exciting ways of bringing characters to life.
This William Afton seems to be doing pretty well for himself. I don't see how things could possibly take a turn for the
Things
worst.
to life. Yeah, that was his core driving force, his passion. And it was this very passion that would mutate, twist, and morph from here on out in the story. Because with life, there is inevitably death, something that Afton would become intimately familiar with. But before
Well, there doesn't have to be when it comes to fun, friendly, family animatronics. I think that there can just be life, and you don't have to include the death part. That's okay.
Afton acquaints himself with death, I want you to take some time to acquaint yourself with our newest channel. Guys,
It's Style Theory! The video, the channel that won't let me show any of their content, so I'm a little bit scared about showing this advertisement for Style Theory, because I got taken down last time I tried to react to Style Theory, so go and subscribe to Style Theory. It's really good. I don't know if I can show their stuff
go ahead,
on stream.
enjoy your all-day
There you go.
check this timeline. Onward to part 2, where things are about to get dark in a hurry.
Style Theory looks good. It'll help me dress good, but I can't react to it.
Business was booming with 2 whole restaurant franchises running, Fredbear's Family Diner and the newly opened Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Together, William and Henry had been able to take the hybrid suit idea and make it into a reality. They called their new invention the Springlock suit, and fittingly enough, it was symbolic of the partnership between these two men, a human suit as designed by William that could become a freestanding Henry-style robot. But because it was still new tech with kinks to work out, the rollout was limited, restricted only to the Fredbear's Family Diner location. All of this meant that William was
They only
busier
have
than
2
ever.
places
He didn't
anyway,
have time to be
so
a
it's not
full-time
that big of a
parent,
deal.
so he designed a nanny cam system where cameras and speakers were hidden throughout the neighborhood, as well as in his youngest son's favorite toy, Psychic Friend Fredbear. I mean, plushy Fredbear. But since cameras just weren't enough to raise a kid, he also left childcare duties to his eldest son, Michael.
Dude, this kid is always crying. Like, come on, have a lollipop or something. Cheer up a bit.
There was just one problem with that. Michael was far from the best babysitter. He tormented his younger brother by jump scaring him with a foxy mask and constantly left him behind. William watched all of it from his cameras. Kids would be kids.
Definitely a
Tomorrow
criminal.
was another day, after all. Except Michael's torment didn't stop. Bitter, angry thoughts would run through Michael's mind. Why did he have to be the one to take care of this whining crybaby all the time? It just wasn't
Facts.
fair.
Damn, Michael kind of based.
It was time that he got even with his brother by playing the ultimate
Yeah, that's
prank.
right.
A prank that just so happened to be on this crying child's birthday. He and his
Yeah, punish the kid for crying. That's right. He deserves
friends would
it.
take his scared little brother and make him do the one thing that he was terrified of doing, getting close to the animatronics. That would be embarrassing for the kid that was such an embarrassment to him.
Oh, he'll probably
His brother
pee himself.
squirmed, screamed, kicked, and fought, but just as they were putting
You know what's crazy about this is exactly the kind of thing that kids would do in real life because kids are so deranged. Also, where I don't know if anyone has asked this before, Matt Pat of Game Theory, but where are the parents in this situation? Where is William Atherton? Is he working on a Springlock suit? Where's the mother in this situation? Who is taking care of these kids? Why is no one watching them next to the massive robots that could eat you whole in one bite? Oh my god, it's the bite of either 87 or 83. We will find out soon.
that small, squirming boy up to Fredbear's lips, the mouth snapped shut. The sensitive spring locks inside the body
And
had been
immediately
triggered by the boy's
lobotomizes a crying
movements.
child.
They'd immediately clamped down. The wriggling stopped. The boy went limp, but it was just a prank. It was meant to be funny. The boy was taken to the hospital.
No, it was funny. He's gonna, dude, we're gonna look back on this in like 20 years. We're gonna laugh about it. You don't need your entire brain. Do you know how big the brain is? Do you know how many brain cells there are? You don't need all of them. It's like kidneys. You don't need
And
all
was
of them.
immediately given an IV. Flowers and pills filled the nightstand next to his hospital bed, but the damage was too severe. He couldn't recover. As the younger brother's consciousness began to fade, he could hear Michael's last words, a small and flimsy apology. But his father, Williams, through the voice of the Fredbear plush, were a firm and committed promise to a dying son. You're broken. I will put you back together.
That's a bit of a nasty thing for a dad to say to a dying child. I wouldn't go for the words, you're broken. That seems a bit
would
unhelpful.
not be the end. No matter what, William's son would live again. It would just take time. Time that, right now, he just didn't have. His young son's heart flatlined as the boy faded into the
He
inky
didn't
unknown
have?
of the aftermath.
Oh, because he
In
was
the
dying.
aftermath of the tragedy,
Dude, what the fuck? Wait, so the brother straight up kills the brother? Why? I didn't know he killed him. I thought he just like lobotomized him or something like that.
changes started happening around the restaurants. Kids were now required to wear security wristbands to prevent anyone from getting outside without parental permission. Any kid who approached the exit without permission would have to answer to the security puppet, a marionette on strings that could fly around on rails across the restaurant to stop kids in their tracks. It was
Hold on, let's just absorb that for a second. instead of the entire place being shut down or the animatronics just not being used anymore because apparently animatronics can't be trusted to not murder kids, what we'll do is we'll put wristbands on them. And if they try to walk out of the building, we'll have a marionette pop out on strings and scare them. Instead of, I don't know, having adults there.
It was William's
maybe.
idea, inspired by Michael constantly leaving the restaurant without his brother. In the wake of Fredbear's
Also, the lobotomy happened inside of the restaurant. So what's the marionette gonna do when Fredbear decides to have another bite?
spring lock failure, all the hybrid suits were getting retired, locked away at the nearby Freddy Fazbear location. It was yet another tough pill to swallow after all the hard work that he and Henry had put into them. William would eventually bury the boy's small body.
What do you mean it's a tough pill to swallow? Like, I understand that you're putting effort into it, but I think if something murdered your kid, you'd be totally down with getting rid of it. Listen, if a dog mauls your baby, then you're like, that sucks. My baby's dead now. Can't have the dog anymore. I don't think you'd be, you're not gonna sit there and be like, oh man, but can I keep the suit though? Ooh.
Body in a remote location out in the woods right alongside his drive into and out of work every day. The death of this little boy sent the family spiraling. His wife, crippled with grief, was so distraught that all she could do was sit and watch TV. But his son Michael
that
was
wife?
far worse. Complaining of seeing hallucinations of a golden bear standing outside of his window. The boy was so racked with guilt that he was convinced that he was being haunted by the ghost of his brother stuck inside the suit that took his life. The suit's three-toed feet digging into the wet earth. The words, "It's me," ringing through Michael's ears. Some nights, Michael would even go so far as to break out of his room to check the gravesite and ensure that his brother was still there. As for William and
Wait, he dug up the grave? That would be really noticeable, wouldn't it? What, does he just check that there's a decomposing corpse there? Like, oh, yep, he's decomposed a little bit more. Oh, well, there goes the eyeballs.
himself, he disappeared into his work and his drinks. Junior's, the local bar, wasn't far from
How about therapy? No. This was the 80s. If you're a fella in the 80s, even if you're a young boy in the 80s, no therapy allowed. Because they thought it was like gay or something, I
son's
don't know.
gravesite. He found himself going there more and more frequently, spending longer and longer amounts of time there. The bar gave him a place to think, to remember, to reflect and stew on how Henry had
Only
stolen
therapy
his
I
idea
need is
for
a
an
beer, brother.
animal-themed restaurant. How they'd cut his character out of the cartoon when everyone else was there. How Henry had humiliated him by buying him out of bankruptcy. And now there was his son. Henry had taken his son from him. The robotic part was the part that failed after all. William ordered
This line of thought is exactly the kind of line of thought you'd have from someone who just had their child killed by something that he helped create and also then drank 17 gallons of beer.
one more drink, but
This
it was
is very
one too many.
realistic.
Bar turned him out and told him to go home. But William didn't go home. Drunk and angry, William raced back to the restaurant to give Henry a piece of his mind, only to find someone else waiting. Henry's daughter, Charlie, locked outside of the
Are
building.
you saying gay is an insult? No, I'm saying that in the 80s, they would have used it as an insult and they would have said that, oh, you go to therapy? Bro, that's kind of gay. Because that's exactly the kind of thing that they would say back then. And of course, it's ridiculous now, and I don't actually believe that.
Bullies laughing at her through the window. Fine, some other problem to fix. But then Afton got an idea. A beautifully awful idea. This was
turned
his
into the
chance to
Grinch.
get back at the man that had humiliated him all those years ago. Henry had killed his business, and now Henry's robotic suit had killed his son. It was time for William to do some killing of his own. Let Henry feel what it's like to have something you love get ripped away. While parties continue.
Okay, I actually like the way that he's trying to explain the thought process here because this feels very realistic. I could actually see this happening. People have killed people for much less. And going down that kind of rabbit hole, I feel like it's been explained really well.
Inside the walls of the pizzeria, William attacked Charlie.
Whether
in
or
the
not
back
it's accurate,
alley.
I don't know.
He felt good. He felt free. The years of resentment and bitterness trapped in his heart finally released in a moment of pure unapologetic evil. He would make Henry hurt like he hurts. And in that moment, William became a killer. He dropped Charlie's lifeless body and drove home. forced to confront his family problems later that night, appalled, but also a little excited by what he had just done. Charlie's death would remain on the books as a random act of violence, and though Henry had suspicions about William, there was no physical evidence, nothing that could link him back to the crime. In the weeks that followed, Fredbear's family diner would close for good. 2 high-profile deaths around the restaurant with 2 grieving owners in such a short period of time was just too much bad press to handle. Besides, Freddy Fazbear's was still open, and
That's crazy because he probably would have gotten away with it in the 80s as well because they were so absolutely awful at solving any kind of crime back in the 80s. If you didn't have hard evidence against you as a murderer, you could get away with anything. You could just clock someone, go out into the middle of the desert, dig a hole, and then when the police come over, they're like, have you seen this person? You're like, I'm sorry, officer. I ain't seen them. Why, is something wrong? They're like, yes, they've been murdered recently. Like, oh, well, that sounds like quite the predicament, officer. Hope you can find him. I don't want no violence in my area. Then you close the door, boom. You're fine. You can just get away with it.
Was the newer restaurant anyway. All the equipment from the diner, including the old yellow suits and security puppet, would get retired to that location. And there they would sit for 2 uneventful years. The rest of 1983 and 1984 were spent quietly grieving. Freddy Fazbear's Pizza and the new cast of characters were a hit.
Okay, so those are the
memories of their
bites of
yellow
83.
predecessors quickly faded. Afton kept a low profile and buried himself in work and research, quickly reaching Henry's level of engineering and even surpassing him. And while Henry slowed down to grieve, Afton kept going, even starting his own company, Afton Robotics, for all those pet projects that were a little bit too experimental for the regular operations of the pizzeria. The first of these experimental projects was a secret workshop under his house, a veritable bunker, which allowed him to work while still monitoring his kids via hidden security cam.
How do you have the money for this? They must have well, they didn't sell the restaurants, they just shut down. Because they still have access to it all. Dude, these people are loaded!
1983. A passcode that served as a constant reminder of why the cameras were so important, why he was down there in the first place. This was all to fulfill the promise that he had made to his son, right? I will put you back together. This was for him. All for him. Right? But cameras weren't enough. He needed to solve the runaway Michael problem. He had to keep him in the house. He couldn't have another one of his kids wind up dead inside of an animatronic suit. So why not run a little experiment on Michael? You see, all this work with Henry had gotten Afton to start learning more about life, robots, the human mind, and what a fallible machine we as humans were. Our reality is so easy to manipulate with a few sensory deceptions. Deceptions like sound. With just a few sounds, he had discovered that he could alter a person's vision. He could transform blank, smooth plastic robots into lumbering, twisted nightmares. Nightmares far scarier than he could create with actual.
Okay, I was under the impression that Five Nights at Freddy's 4 was a dream sequence. So I'm excited to see how this goes.
Materials. They would appear organic, rotting, putrid, terrifying. These would be his means of keeping his son Michael in the house where he belonged. Was it extreme?
Thank you, Richie.
Maybe. But then again, this was the boy.
Yeah, it's true. He should be arrested for tax evasion. Is he paying taxes on all this? I bet he didn't pay taxes on it. That's the worst thing that William Afton has done, is he didn't pay his taxes, did he?
Killed his son. He would make him sorry. And so Michael would grow up not only dealing with the memories of his own guilt, the hospital room, the pills, the flowers, the death of his brother, but also facing literal nightmares, illusions created by sound.
Oh man, that's evil. Yo, Sable! Thank you so much for the 10. I really appreciate that. Thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you very much indeed. Also, chat, I do want to say we got a big video coming out today. We finally made the I Played Pokemon Scarlet as Ash video. I think it's sick. You guys have already watched it if you watched the early access as a member, but I think it's a really good video. I'm really excited to release it. I think that everyone will like it. I think that the thumbnail is great. I think because it was done by Vamp. I think that the content is very, very good. So I hope that people like it a lot. I hope it does well. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sable. I'm waiting for the thing to read it out. What? I don't know what's that. I don't know what that's in reference to. That just felt that was funny that it just came out of nowhere.
The woman without a face was a female serial killer whose DNA was found at many crime scenes in Austria, France, and Germany. Turns out, she wasn't a serial killer. She was the cotton swab employee.
That's so funny. We've the serial killers everywhere. We've got to catch her. She's killing people in all different countries. No, it's just the person that takes the evidence. What?
Pickle would never forget these either. Years later, as a security guard, he would still draw pictures of them inside of his logbook. But all of these extra projects meant that his home life suffered even more. He was an absent father and a non-existent husband, leaving his wife cold and alone.
Is that the wife? Oh my goodness. That looks like an absolute shell of a human. Oh, that's so sad. I guess that's what happens when your kid dies, right?
Why do you hide inside your walls?
Is that the wife?
When there is music in my halls.
No, you're right. I'll come right out. It's time for a little jig, time for a little dance. Hey, let's go. Having a good time. So much fun.
All I see is an empty room. No more joy, an empty tomb.
Nice.
And despite her repeated demands that he leave his office and engage with the family, he refused time and time again, leaving her no choice but to leave.
You burned down my house?
You call that a house? It was like a morgue in there. You need to see your son.
The baby isn't mine.
Well, how's this? I'm keeping the diamond
Is that
ring.
purple
And
guy?
through it all, there was
Wait, is this supposed to be purple guy? What an interesting turn of events. He's Dracula. He can suck blood.
one lingering feeling. William wasn't done. He had gotten a taste.
That would be a fantastic twist on the whole event. Oh yeah, by the way, purple guy that's Dracula. Like he's like a vampire and stuff. He goes out, he's turned into a bat. It's really cool.
Of what it felt like to be unleashed, what it felt like to be free. Charlie's murder
Yes, it's
had
a
unlocked
metaphor.
something in him, and he
Not actually
wanted
him.
more. June 26th, 1985. Putting on the golden Bonnie suit, he lured children one by one to the back room of the pizzeria when no one was looking. At first, he was cautious. He would lure them with promises of cake and cookies. He told them that their dog had died. He would ask for help with homework. Susie was the first. You never truly forget your first.
That is a crazy sentence to put at the end. You never forget your first. I have only heard this in very different contexts.
But where to hide the bodies? He couldn't sneak out. Someone would see him. He had to hide them in a place where they'd never be found, and where they'd never...
Did no one see the kids being taken away? Did no one think like, oh, hey, where's my kid? I came here with a kid, and now there's no kid, so it must have gone somewhere. It's not like dropping a pen, right? You don't just like drop a pen. You're like, oh man, I can't find the pen. Oh, I'll just get another one. That's your child. So I would imagine there would be more of a fuss kicked up about a child dying, considering it happened several times before in the same area as this guy. A little bit more suspicion, maybe.
Leave the building. They had to be stuffed inside of the suits. No one maintained those things anyway except for him. And so Susie would go into Chica. Fritz, Jeremy, and Gabriel would come next, but it was easy.
What about the police? Surely if a child had disappeared inside of a building, the police would visit said building. And then they would, I don't know, look around at everything. I assume if you get next to the Chica doll, there would be a rotting, decomposing smell that would emanate from said doll. I know that the police are very incompetent back then and they weren't very good at solving crimes. But at the very least, if you walk into a room with a decomposing kid in it, you might notice it slightly.
It's too easy. And with each little life he snuffed out, his lies got bigger. Their house was burning. They're just being kidnapped. Until the last one where all pretense was off. He let himself get violent. Too violent.
I'll just wait for him after school, throw a bag over his head, hit him with a shovel, and drag him into the back of my car.
The body of Cassidy was far more bloody and broken.
It is way too easy to kill kids in the 80s.
than any of the others. He'd let himself go too far. That one he shouldn't have killed. With no more active animatronics left, he shoved the body into the one suit that remained backstage. The long-forgotten yellow Fredbear, now broken and discolored with age. Broken, like Cassidy was broken, like his son was broken. Newspapers reported on this disappearance, naming the whole thing the missing children's incident. Police would even charge William with the crimes after finding security footage of the golden mascot suit luring kids to the back. But they...
Okay, so they charged him, he killed kids. GG's. It's over. Like you're not getting out of that one. It's multiple kids killed. Even if the police release you for whatever reason, which they probably won't, because if they charge you with a crime, they are going to check the building. They're going to look around and find the decomposing kid bodies. It's over. Even if you get out, you're gonna get lynched in the streets.
They couldn't convict him. They had no bodies, and his face had been hidden behind the mascot suit the entire time.
The one he shouldn't have killed, MatPat says. The first 4, that's fine. Everyone does a little kid murder as a treat for Christmas, if you've really worked hard and you deserve it. But the last one, that was a bit too much. He indulged too much. A bit greedy, we'll say.
Had was circumstantial at best, and so he walked away a free man. But
dude, they suck so much.
Henry knew the truth. In these murders, he saw his daughter
They
Charlie
weren't found.
all over again. So he threw Afton out of the company and shuttered the doors to the old...
Listen, I've heard of dead kid ghosts inhabiting animatronics, but the police not finding the bodies is the most suspense I've had to disbelief. That's the most ridiculous thing in this entire series.
Henry would keep the franchise quiet for 2 years. This would not happen again. This could not happen again. How could he protect the kids? Finally, he developed a solution. He would implement an even more extreme security system in the form of new animatronics. Toy animatronics, inspired by the toys that they had been selling years ago. But these guys, these were special.
I'm not sure that's the solution. I don't think more animatronics is the solution to this problem. I think maybe we deal with the problem, which is the murderer, which surely Henry knows who's killing all the people by now. He knows 100% who it is. I think there is a solution here, and we're not quite gaining access to it.
They were a new breed of robot with facial recognition abilities.
But most importantly, they're all tied into some kind of criminal database, so they can detect a predator a mile away.
All the original animatronics, now withered with age, were moved to the new location. With a plan in place, it was time to try once more. The year was 1987, and the new and improved Freddy Fazbear's Pizza was making headlines in local newspapers.
Come on, this is like a YouTuber when they tried to make a channel again after being outed as a sexual predator. Don't, come on. What are you doing, man? This is like EDP445 coming back and be like, hey guys, I'm gonna open up another YouTube channel.
Lines that just so happened to catch the attention of William Afton. Freddy's was back, and without him, that was his idea, his character. Henry was, yet again, trying to cut him out of the picture. No, as long as these restaurants stayed open, William would always come back. Then he noticed the phone number to apply at the bottom of the article. $100 a week to apply call. Afton.
$100 a week in, what was that, 1987? I want to find out how much that would be now. That doesn't sound like much. Dollars inflation calculator. Does anyone know what state these places are? Does anyone know what state they're in? All right, let's have a look at the dollar. Let's have a look at the inflation calculator that isn't working right now. Okay. Wait, they're still in Utah? Okay, so 100. I like how they add the 50 at the end. It's still in Utah. All right. So if you start at 1987. What the fuck? Inflation updates? No, shut up. Okay, $100.50 in 1987 would be worth about $266 a week in this day and age, even in Utah. That is nothing, man. That is abysmal. That's an insult. Oh my God, who's applying for this?
Not as an owner or co-founder, he would go back in the one place that they would least suspect him, a lowly day shift security guard. And there it was, buried in the back of park.
Wait, but there's one location. If Henry is opening one location, he should know who is working at this singular location. This isn't Mackie D's that has 7 billion locations where the CEO doesn't know who's working there. If there is one place, then you should know who is working at your one place. That'll be like me hiring an editor, but I don't know who the editor is. How is that even possible?
Parts and services
a name change? No, you're still gonna know what they look like.
Golden rabbits. With the yellow security badge still on his chest, he used his crank to pull open the spring locks. It was time for Bonnie to give an encore performance.
Someone used one of the suits. We had a spare in the back, a yellow one. Someone used it.
Wait, is this Five Nights at Freddy's 3?
Right?
No, I don't think it is yet.
The building is on lockdown. No one is allowed in or out, especially concerning any previous employees. When we get it all sorted out, we may move you to the day shift. A position just became available.
1987, 5 more kids. He didn't know what felt better, getting back into the suit after 2 long years of waiting, or knowing how devastating this would be to Henry the next morning.
He killed 5 more kids? Come on. At what point do we just say the parents, it's the parents' fault? They deserve it at this point. Come on, man.
Didn't even try to hide his crime this time, just meant more blood on Henry's hands. He'd failed to protect the kids again. The restaurant had only been open for a few weeks, but William was sure that this would get it to close. Good, if he couldn't have Freddy's, no one would.
Bro, if 5 kids die at a restaurant that opened a week ago,
a new pizzeria opened, he would be there. But as he sat in his bunker, something else started to linger in William's mind. He had seen something strange. The old withered animatronics, they had been wandering around the building, spurred on by the puppet. It was almost like those old robots were trying to save the kids. Save them? They couldn't, obviously.
Wait, save the kids? Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Guys, I think I know who Purple Guy really is. The Save the Kids token. You guys remember that? The crypto scam? That's right. The Purple Guy is actually FaZe K, the person that did the Save the Kids crypto scam. FaZe K, why would you do this? Rice Gum, why would you do this? Okay, I might be wrong.
The Afton era. I promise, it will.
Oops, that's the wrong video.
But still, how were they moving? It was almost like they had been given life somehow. Did he have something to do with that? The following day, the news would report a security guard getting bitten by one of the animatronics during the day shift. Was that bite meant for him? William's curiosity was stronger now than his bloodlust. He had to learn more, but how? There was no way he'd ever be able to get inside another Freddy's Pizzeria. Heck, there was practically no way
no, he's got like lockpicking 100. He can just sneak himself in.
Freddy's would ever open again. He needed to create something new, something brand new. He needed to create his own pizzeria.
Due to the massive success, and even more so the unfortunate closing of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, it was clear that the stage was set, no pun intended, for another contender in children's entertainment.
If they allow this restaurant to open, every single person in the government that decides whether or not restaurants can open should get immediately executed.
Circus Baby's Pizza World.
Fuck's sake.
This would be the place where he could continue his work. No longer just murdering, experimenting. He needed more kids, and he needed them alive. And knowing that he couldn't show—
everyone is in on it. That is the only solution I can possibly come to this. Every single adult in Five Nights at Freddy's world just thinks that murdering kids is really awesome and funny and that we should do it all the time. Every single person has to be in on it. There's no way that this incompetent.
Show his face on the restaurant floor, he needed a way of remotely capturing his victims and preserving them for his work.
The parents are in on it as well.
He designed—
this is the kind of shit that happens in Utah. That's why I don't go.
A new breed of animatronic. Their endoskeletons fluid and flexible. He equipped them with sound lures that could mimic voices. They could isolate children. They could incapacitate and contain them with zero direct input from him. It was brilliant. He was brilliant. Far beyond the simple bars—
dude, he made Saw for 5-year-olds.
And wires of Henry's designs. And the characters he chose for this were uniquely his. His new roster wasn't going to be tainted by Henry's disgusting barnyard bird. Instead, it was back to his characters, his creations. Freddy, Bonnie, Foxy, as well as 2 special ones.
Don't like
the first, Ballora, was an homage to the woman who left him. Now she would never leave him again. The second, the titular baby, was designed with his baby in mind. Elizabeth, his youngest child. She would always be Daddy's little girl, the one that listened to him, the one that obeyed until the day that she didn't.
Daddy, why won't you let me play with her? She's so pretty and shiny. Didn't you make her just for me?
The day before Circus Baby's Pizza World opened, she disobeyed. She didn't listen. Left alone with Baby, she got too close. The animatronic ripped in half and swallowed her whole. A scared and confused child fading into eternal darkness. By the time Afton found her, it was too late. She was gone. He immediately canceled the launch of Circus Babies under the guise of a gas leak. But wait, as he sat there—
why? Everyone is so dumb. How can you make whole-ass robots but still be so dumb?
At the foot of the stage, he noticed that something was different. The eye color of the robot had changed. Baby had been built with blue eyes, but now they were emerald green, the same color as Elizabeth's. Was she in there? Could this all be connected to the free-moving animatronics that he had seen at Freddy's? He had to know more. His mourning turned to excitement. He had to return to where it all started. 1993. Pathetic. This place was pathetic. Henry had clearly tried to reopen one final time with those old original animatronics from so long ago, but William's damage to the brand had been permanent. These things stank of death. They hadn't been washed in decades. But even if they had, nothing could wash away the stink of murder that haunted these halls. One night, then another, then another. William repeatedly snuck into the old broken restaurant to lure the living animatronics to him, one by one dismantling them, robbing them of their endoskeletons. The metal had to be the secret. It had to contain the remnants of life itself. But he had to know for sure. Leaping out of a room that was invisible to the animatronics programming, he dragged the oversized robotic skeletons back to his underground workshop, back to where
This is the one that had the kids inside of them, right? The one that had the kids stuffed inside them. So in theory, they had this soul of the children inside of those ones.
Circus baby watched on with glowing, curious eyes.
Did the corpses ever get removed? I mean, I would assume not, because if the corpses got removed, that would in turn act as evidence against him, so he would have been arrested. So the corpses still have to be in there.
Eyes that somehow felt alive. Not knowing what else to do, William melted the robotic parts down. 5 animatronic endoskeletons reduced down to one silvery puddle of goo. Could he transfer this living metal to his own creations? He had to try. He picked up a syringe and filled it with the molten metal and injected the goo into Funtime Freddy's twisted, wiry endoskeleton. And suddenly the coils came to life. Like snakes writhing in a pile, what had once been cold, lifeless metal moved and jolted on its own. He'd done it! He had unlocked the secret to life itself. Except something was clearly wrong. The movements—
This is like Full Metal Alchemist. You need to sacrifice in order to gain, right? You have to get rid of in order to get. So he's sort of like, I found out how to make life. You just need to kill kids. Everybody believe me. How are you going to report this to everyone else? What are you going to say? Like, listen, guys, I know how to make robots come to life. Like, really come to life. And like, oh man, how do you do it? And they're like, yeah, well, I can't really say. It's a little secret, actually. My special sauce.
Were erratic. They were violent, angry. Baby didn't act this way. She had been calm, collected. This was clearly something else, something mindless and frantic. Perhaps by mixing the souls and then portioning them out, he had created incomplete beasts. He would need to keep testing to truly understand it.
It's like the Chimera all over again.
As he searched the old pizzeria one more time for any remaining scraps of metal, the ghosts attacked. His past victims come to collect their due, all led by Cassidy. The 5—
Bro, how does a ghost attack? It's just gonna float there. It's gonna float there and be all angry. So what's it gonna do, punch you? What, are you gonna lose to a 5-year-old ghost child? What are you gonna do to you? Just kick them. Oh wait, you can't kick them. They're ethereal. They can't do anything to you. Just ignore them. Bro, just close your eyes.
Lined up and blocked the door, and Afton's mind reeled. The scientific implications of this were incredible. Ghosts, real ghosts that he could see, all standing against him. But what could they do? What couldn't they do? He panicked as Cassidy approached. How do you stop something that's already—
Okay, to play devil's advocate and to be fair, yes, I would also be scared if ghosts were just real and I also killed the kids and they were staring at me. That situation would be quite traumatic and very scary because you don't know what they're capable of. But at the same time, they're like 5 years old, it's fine.
Dead. Maybe with the thing that resulted in their death in the first place. He would get into his suit like old times. He would regain his power over them just like the day that they died.
That does make sense. Okay, ghost here. Uh-oh, kind of scary. A solution. I'll do the same thing I did when I killed them. Because I had power over them then. I'll get back in the suit. That's how I kill the kids. Boom, bam. That's a sick idea. I love that idea. You're doing super good for yourself right now. Let's see how it goes.
He was the genius. He was the one in the suit. He was the one in charge.
Yep.
The spring lock snapped into place. Maybe it was his frantic movements. Maybe it was the leaky abandoned restaurant. Maybe it was just fate coming to collect its due. He didn't know. The only thing he did know was that his brain was suddenly filled with searing white-hot pain as hundreds of metallic pins and gears stabbed into his body from all sides. All he could do was collapse, blood slowly oozing out of the suit and pooling onto the floor around him. It couldn't end like this.
He would have gotten away with it too, if it wasn't for those meddling kids.
It wouldn't end like this. His work was unfinished. Unable to move, his only option was to survive, to live, to keep living. It took days lying in his own blood, but eventually someone found him. A security guard making a normal report. When he saw the animatronics torn apart in the middle of the party room floor, it caused him to file an immediate report of a break-in. An owner would have to come in and claim the damage. And who else would it be other than Henry? Hope jumped in Afton's heart. Henry would see him. They were partners after general. He would be the one to help save him, to get him out of this suit, to relieve him from this tremendous pain.
Why would he do that? Bro, you're dead anyway. This is 1980s America, buddy. You got health insurance. You're in for a big-ass bill. Your restaurant got shut down. You got no income, son. It's over.
Henry entered the secret room. His eyes fell on Afton sitting there in the pool of red, and Henry, saying nothing, turned and walked away.
This is just to inform all employees that due to budget restrictions, the previously mentioned safe rooms are being sealed at most locations.
Due to budget restrictions, what, do you not have enough money to power the door? I know, it's because he wants to kill off Afton, and that's fine, to be honest.
Management also requests that this room not be mentioned to family, friends, or insurance representatives.
And so there Afton would sit, hanging on for 30 years, trapped behind the walls with an iron will that refused to die. And
did he not need lunch? Was someone giving him PB&Js?
End of this part. I say this part because it's not officially the end of the Afton era just yet, but this just felt like a really solid stopping point. The episode has gone on forever. Okay, so most of this is...
Did he subsist off of really shitty Freddy Fazbear's pizza for 30 years?
Things that we already knew. Stuff that's been established and re-established time and time again by the games. That said, there are...
Or, alternatively, he dies, his human body ceases to require what it needs, and he is revitalized in the suit. Which is, I guess... That makes sense?
Two things that I absolutely have to address. The first and biggest is the placement of sister location, or more specifically, Elizabeth's death. To me, evidence in game seems to suggest that it was meant to come before the crying child's death in 1983. The biggest clue to this is that the crying child saw something. Remember what you saw is the phrase that's repeated over and over again by psychic friend Fredbear, aka William Afton speaking through a walkie-talkie in the Fredbear plushie's stomach. But what did he see? Well, I think we can tell based on how the nightmare animatronics are visualized. They have mouths in their stomachs, just like Baby ripping in half at the waist to swallow a kid. There's also the empty girl's room, one presumably left behind by a dead sister. And lastly, it explains...
Wait, so they... Oh, he's trying to say that that happened before 1983? When he was killed?
Why he's scared, and more specifically, why Afton wants him scared. He needs his kids to stay away from the animatronics. He doesn't want them getting too close, because the last time one of his kids got too close to a robot, his daughter died. That's then why he sets up the nightmares.
But then that wouldn't make her the one that listened, like he said before. Because if she was the one that listened and stayed away from the animatronics, then she wouldn't have been... That can't be right.
Scare both Mike and the crying child away from the animatronics from that point forward. That's why books like the Character Encyclopedia outright suggest that we play as the crying child in FNAF 4. That's why he has a nanny cam following the crying child everywhere, so he can keep tabs on his kids when they're out of his sight. He can't let another Elizabeth situation happen. The death of Elizabeth also gives William Afton extra motivation for killing. He's a grieving father. His daughter was taken away.
No, the baby can't predate the first Five Nights at Freddy's because the technology used for those animatronics is so much more advanced than the ones used for the other ones.
From him, so Charlie should die as well. He's lashing out at the world after losing his kids. And again, we know that at least one of his children had to have died prior to Charlie's death, based on the mound of dirt that we see in Midnight Motorist. It also allows circus babies to open and close earlier in the timeline, which is how you wind up with Funtime Foxy appearing as Mangle in the FNAF 2 location. Basically, Elizabeth dying first has everything it needs to fit, except for the most important thing, the murder weapon. Why would Afton be building an animatronic with a giant claw in its stomach so early in the timeline?
Yeah, why would he be making the kid killer animatronic before he has any reason to even try and kill kids?
At this point, he just has no motive. It just doesn't make sense prior to 1983. At this point in the story, he hasn't killed anyone. And we know for a fact that the missing children's incident is
Well, I mean, if you're gonna kill kids, you're gonna be a little bit deranged before the act anyway. You know how they say that serial killers always kill animals? Maybe he was using it to kill dogs. He was like, oh, I'm going to use this animatronics to scoop up some dogs and I'm going to mangle them all up and then serve it to my kids because I'm a weirdo.
85. So Elizabeth's death coming before any of those events just doesn't work. Hence why I placed it where I did in the narrative timeline. Afton's death here is also a bit tricky. We know that he returned to the FNAF 1 location to break down the original animatronics in order to harvest their remnant. We know that he melts down 5 things to become one thing. Candy Cadet makes that very clear. So the 5 things are the 5 endoskeletons from the various animatronics. That would be totally fine fine if it weren't for one huge problem. On his 5th visit to the pizzeria, Afton gets spring-locked. So either the 5 becoming 1 starts in 1993, but then finishes 30 years later when he re-emerges from the wall to add the last endoskeleton to his pile, or...
Could you imagine if it just chills there for 30 years? And he's like, I can finally get up again, Jesus Christ. All right, where's that last dead kid at?
He's had himself some reason to return to the original location after harvesting all the stuff that he can. It's not ideal, but it's the one angle that makes the most sense. And with that, this next chapter comes to a close, thereby leaving us with 5 more games to cover and another 40 plus years of Fazbear history to recap.
There's only 40 years.
When you put it that way, something tells me that this might balloon into 4 parts. Ugh, we'll see. Anyway, until then, my Faz heads, congratulations, you made it through a massive upload.
And then we have the ultimate timeline burn them all video. Oh boy. All right, chat, let's see what we've learned so far. Wait, where's my... I don't have any... I left my water. I left my water downstairs. I know where it is. I need to go get my water. Hold on, I'll be back in a second. Leo is lying in my bedroom. So I said hello to him from you. What have you learned so far, chat? What have you learned? Have you learned a lot today? So far, I have learned that the shit is insane. Okay, here's what I've learned so far. The adults in this universe are completely useless, completely insane. The kids are just magnets to death. They're so eager to get killed. So they're like, let's go get killed. Woo, let's go. It's awesome. They're absolute idiots, but then again, kids in real life are idiots as well. And this purple guy's, I don't know, I don't like him. I think he's a bit of a bad guy, to be honest. Five Nights at Freddy's is going a little bit crazy. Have I ever seen it? No, I haven't. Oh my god. You know what? That's crazy that you just typed that, because there was one person that used to come into all of my streams like 5 years ago and ask me if I'd seen the It movie every day. And every message was just about the It movie. Everything would just be a reference to the It movie. And he'd come in and be like, did you see the It movie yet? You just gave me like a PTSD flashback to that. That's not as bad as the guy that tried to convince me that it was okay that he didn't brush his teeth and that no one actually complained about him and it was totally fine and his mouth is fine and he doesn't need to brush his teeth. It's okay. No, I haven't seen the It movie, okay? I'm not gonna watch the It movie. I only watch horror movies with friends. I find that horror movies are usually not very scary, and also, I don't really like being scared as a mode of entertainment. I'm not a coward. I just think it's better to watch horror movies in a situation where you can make fun of them with friends. So I only watch horror movies in a situation where I have friends over and we're gonna make fun of it. We usually never take it seriously. I think the last horror movie that I watched was Krampus. There's only one horror movie that I've ever watched, and I was like, that was a really good horror movie. That was just for horror, and it was really good, and that's Hush. It's a super, super, super good movie. Every other horror movie that I've ever watched, and I've watched a ton of them, I've only watched because I want to make fun of them with friends. Am I going to watch the FNAF movie when it comes out? Oh, yeah, it's probably going to be terrible. Oh, dude, that shit is going to suck. Yeah, I'd love to watch it with friends. That'd be great. I also want to watch the Mario movie with friends. I know it's not a horror movie, but I really want to watch that with friends. I want to hang out with my friends. I think that'd be really funny. Markiplier might be in it. Dude, of course Markiplier's in it. He's like the king of Five Nights at Freddy's. Of course Markiplier. Of course Markiplier is going to be in it. I'll get a train to you. You can see the FNAF movie. Let's do it! Yes! Absolutely! I'm totally down for that. Absolutely, yes, do that. I'm not fucking kidding. Do that. Absolutely 100%. You can come and hang out. That'd be so good. That'd be so funny. Dude, if you go and see it in a movie theater, it's gonna be like 7,000 5-year-olds and us too. We're gonna have to take my cat and pretend he's a 5-year-old. So like, no, we're a gay couple coming with our child, my cat, to go and see the Five Nights at Freddy's movie because Leo really wants to see the movie. I fucking love Markiplier, man. He's so good. Yeah, Fyrus did a Nuzlocke recently, and he did a great job. And I just want to say big ups to Fyrus for doing such a good job on his first Nuzlocke. You should watch the video on Fyrus's channel. Coming today? Tomorrow? At some point soon. And also the video on Alpharad's channel. Watch both of them. They're really good. Well done, Fyrus. Okay. Are you ready for... I think this is the final video that we can watch today. It's not the final in the timeline, but it's the final one that we can watch today. Also, if you want early access videos, become a member, please. Thank you. I had a meeting with my accountant today. He was like, you need a pension. I'm like, what? Okay, let's go. It's time to get into the last episode. Here we go. It's time to
page 20
burn them all.
Of our final FNAF timeline. This is getting ridiculous. Last
Page
time
20?
we covered William Afton's rise as a serial killer. How the loss of his young son in 1983 caused him to make one fateful promise that would ultimately serve as his driving force for decades. I will put you back together.
No, I think his driving force for decades was, I love killing kids. It's awesome, and I have lots of fun doing it. That seems like more of his driving force because he wasn't really focused on the whole living metal, putting the souls into animatronics until after he had a really good time slaughtering kids left and right.
Fueled by grief and obsession, Afton would lose himself in work and drinks. One night in a fit of rage, he lashes out against Henry's young daughter, Charlie, his first murder. This moment becomes the first domino to fall in a long sequence of events that ultimately destroys William's life and the lives of those around him. That one murder gives Afton a taste for blood, resulting in the deaths of 10 more children across 2 different pizzerias. Those children go on to possess animatronics, giving Afton his first exposure to Remnant and the potential solution for bringing his son back to life. The need to learn more about this miraculous power
that came
leads him
after he killed 10 kids, by the way. So the whole killing 10 kids, that was just for funsies.
To produce the Funtime animatronics, as well as their capture devices. Robots designed to bring kids to him for experimentation and collection of more Remnant. Except there was one thing that he didn't account for.
11
his
kids,
daughter's
that's right.
curiosity. He made the robots too appealing, and it would cost him Elizabeth's life. Now with 2 children to put back together, Afton was more desperate.
There's no way that he is shocked that the animatronics specifically created and curated to attract and murder kids attracted and subsequently murdered his kid. You're not gonna surprise Pikachu face me on this one.
Returning to defunct pizzerias to steal the possessed metal still living inside their walls. What he didn't account for, though, were the ghosts, forcing him to pay for the sins of his past. When last we left him, William...
I feel like that's a pretty normal thing to not account for. Generally, I wouldn't account for the ghosts in anything that I do in general life, and even if I did murders, which I've never done murders before, I haven't, I probably wouldn't account for the ghosts in that situation either.
William was spring-locked, bleeding to death behind a secret wall. Gone, but certainly not forgotten, as we're about to see in today's video. Today, we're finishing up Chapter 2 of our story, wrapping up the Afton era. Over the next 6 pages, we switch our focus to the other main character of the franchise, Mike, a young boy dealing with the fallout of a stupid childhood decision with tragic consequences. A young man whose life is best described as collateral damage.
That's what he looks like now? Dude, you got a big nose.
The blast radius of William's whirlwind of destruction. Now, before we begin, let me just rip off the band-aid now. We won't be finishing the timeline today. I know, I'm sorry.
But we will be finishing in this video that I'm recording for my channel because I'm gonna upload it once all of the videos are out, so we can do all the reaction in one video.
I wanted to, but covering FNAF VR, AR, and Security Breach wound up taking me an additional 9 pages of script. And I've already made you wait long enough for this part, so I just had to make the executive call to break this one up into 2. Don't worry, that part is already written, it is already recorded, it is just in the process of being edited. It is a hefty episode. So mark it on your calendar, that one's actually gonna be going live on March 25th. It's also coming complete with a live talk back where we go back over everything from the past couple episodes, as well as having ourselves some very special guests. So
Freddy Fazbear's gonna be on the
Overall,
stream.
that one should be a lot of fun. Fair warning,
Let's
though,
go.
the conclusions we've reached that solve security breach, whew, they are controversial. I feel good about them. Like, I think that we've locked in on a lot of the answers here, but whoa, they're gonna raise a lot of discussion. Let's just say that you're either gonna love that episode or hate it.
I like how he's priming everyone for Reddit threads about MatPat was wrong about this theory. Here's why. And it's a 7,000 paragraph essay that I don't care about reading.
In between on that one. Anyway, without any further ado, let's cover a chunk of the timeline that's a lot less controversial. Let's meet Mike. William still wasn't back. Weird. Michael knew his father sometimes traveled for work, disappearing for days on end, but usually there was some sort of notice, a phone call, a post-it, something. It's not like Michael and his father were close, far from it, but as a household of two suffering men coping with years of tragedy and loss, there was at least some element of communication between the two of them. They were united by a name and a shared pain. This time though, things felt different. William had left nothing. His absence was longer. There were no check-ins, no updates, just silence. Something had happened. If there was one thing Michael knew about his father, it was that he had contingencies.
How long exactly had he been disappeared at this point? Because I understand he's been spring locked by now, so he's just bleeding out in some restaurant somewhere.
Father was a careful and guarded man. He held his cards close to his chest, and as such, William had prepared him in the event that something like this ever happened. Normally, his father kept his home office locked, but in the event of an unexpected, prolonged absence, Michael had been instructed to enter his father's office and look behind an empty set of shelves mounted in the corner of the room. Rolling his eyes, Michael entered the office. Never fully understood how William was able to spend so many hours of his days locked up in here. There was just nothing.
As a YouTuber, I can fully understand why someone would be able to spend hours of their days locked in their office while doing nothing else except trying their absolute best to be productive to achieve their goals. It makes complete sense to me.
Nothing to do. Most of this place was empty. He dragged himself over to the shelf in the corner, expecting to find an emergency contact list, a family safety deposit box. But what he actually found there was completely
5 dead kids.
Unexpected.
Father, it's me, Michael. I did it. I found it.
No shot, Michael. Why do you sound like you're 65 years old?
Right where you said it would be.
The shelf swung open and revealed
British as well.
A giant industrial elevator, one that led straight down into an underground bunker. But that was impossible. Hidden inside his childhood home was a secret entrance to an enormous underground science lair? It didn't make any sense.
Bro, their electric bills must have been insane.
Seriously, it didn't make any sense.
Wait, they're British? Bro, they're lucky that this isn't in current day. You seen energy bills recently? They've quintupled over the past year. God, they'd be bankrupt by just that alone. That would have stopped the murders. The increase in energy bills.
And yet, here it was, mapped directly underneath the floor plan of the house that he'd grown up in, lost his brother in, been tortured in. Michael thought that he'd known his father, a prideful, sad, angry man with petty, everyday problems, but clearly he'd been living with a stranger this entire time. His father had secrets. Suddenly,
they live in
the days
Utah.
of William being locked inside of his office made sense. He'd been here the entire time. Where was here, though? Was this circus baby's inner...
Why the fuck would you move to Utah from the UK? Like, listen, I'm not trying to say the UK is awesome, but if you're gonna move to America, why would you move to Utah?
Entertainment and rentals? The Circus Baby restaurant always did seem to be a deeply personal project for Father. A failure of his that cut unusually deep, especially after that first location had to be closed prematurely due to the gas leaks. After that day, Father really did seem to change, to lose himself even more in his work. Clearly, the entrance he had found was some sort of secret back way into the facility, one that required crawling through vents to navigate. His father had been working here, but in secret. Why? And that's when he found her. At the end of the facility, Circus Baby. His father's pride and joy.
Here it
Except
is.
something was different about her.
It's your sister.
She wasn't like the others. The way she talked, the stories she told. This wasn't just a robot. She was alive somehow.
It's an M&S
and not
robot.
only was she alive, she also felt familiar.
There is something bad inside of me.
Oh, come on now. That's an innocent child that you're talking about. I don't think the kid's done anything wrong. Maybe kicked a dog once.
I can't be fixed. Will you help me?
Was this his sister? William's baby girl? But how? Why? What was this place? He dug around some old files and found blueprints outlining the features of these animatronics. Storage containers, voice mimicking, parental tracking. And was that a child?
Parental tracking? Why don't you just type in, like, child murderer, head slicer device, kidnapping machine.
Freddy's stomach? Was his father collecting and experimenting on kids? Were all the rumors that he'd heard throughout his past actually true?
This is really well animated. They did a really good job on these videos.
That the animatronics came to life at night, that there were murders
so
done in
well
all
edited.
the pizzerias, that his father had somehow been the prime suspect in all of it. Suddenly, Michael's mind flashed back to his persistent nightmares throughout his childhood. Had he been experimented on too? Tears stung in his eyes as anger, fear, and confusion filled his body.
Yeah,
his
get him.
father's secrets were pouring out.
Get him,
William
Michael.
wasn't just a lame, overworked father. He was a monster, toying with life
that's
itself.
right.
Suddenly, everything clicked. He frantically looked around the room, blinking human heads on poles staring back at him. Green eyes, his sister. Blue eyes, his brother. Closed eyes, his mom. All just staring expectantly. These were meant to be human. William was working down here trying to make believable humans, literally rebuilding the family that they had both lost. The small little girl robots with their British accents roaming the hallways of this underground facility suddenly took on a whole new context.
Hello in there. Is it the same person?
Were those
No, not me. No, different guy. Actually, no, Steve. Steve, I came from California. I'm a surfer. I work for minimum wage at a nearby In-N-Out. Never met you before.
A clone? Was William building clones of his sister? They seemed to know him, after all, to react to his presence.
They were all there. They didn't recognize me at first, but then they thought I was you.
He always did have a bit of a resemblance to his father. Michael's mind reeled as the reality of his world crumbled to dust. No, he had to get them out of there. If this really was his sister, heck, if any of these things were human, souls, whatever remnant of the humans that they once were, they needed to be rescued.
They always put us back inside. There's nowhere for us to hide here.
Led by the voice of
Yeah, let's keep in mind that they were made to harvest and kill kids, though. Maybe we should kind of weigh the options here. If we let them go, who knows what kind of wacky hijinks they'll get up
Circus
to.
Baby, he marched through the now empty halls of the Funtime Auditorium. He would lead them. He would protect them. And finally, he would be able to forgive himself for the killing of his brother so many years.
What? What happened?
You are in the scooping room now.
The scooping room?
The scooper only hurts for a moment.
Oh, good. No, that sounds good, actually.
Violent extraction arm? Michael had seen that one in the pile of blueprints. Something about heat rendering the magical silver metal inside useless. In reality, prior to getting himself spring-locked and put behind the wall, William's methods had become increasingly sophisticated, with a mechanized arm that could infuse new bodies with a soul. William could finally give and take away.
How does a scooper infuse a new body with a soul? What do you caught you scooping a soul?
Life. The only thing he needed were the bodies. But William wasn't the only one looking for bodies, as Michael was about to learn.
But if we looked like you, then we could hide.
You're putting the souls in Michael's body?
Then we would have somewhere to go.
Michael was going to be the hero to help these animatronics, all right. He was going to help the haunted tubes and wires of these animatronics escape, just not in the way that he anticipated. His sister had lied to him. Another game of pretend. The scooper plowed
that's messed up.
digging its extraction arm into his body. As he heard his bones ripping through his flesh, Michael blacked out.
But something is wrong with me.
Well, you didn't give him, like, any paracetamol, at least? A little bit of painkiller? I mean, you don't have to put him to sleep. I understand that anesthesia is quite expensive. Give him a little bit of painkiller.
I should be dead.
Yeah, you should be, mate.
Not.
That's interesting. Oh, hello.
For the next several months, Michael's life was not his own. He was forced to comply with the tangle of wires and spirits that lived inside of him. His body felt like an overfilled balloon.
Okay, in theory, a scooper scoops. It's scooping out the body, it's scooping out the organs, it's making room for the endoskeleton. You still need something to function, or else you wouldn't be alive. It couldn't have killed him, so it didn't scoop out the heart, didn't scoop out the brain. It just scooped out, what, his stomach and his intestines, and it just shoved some wires and spirits in there?
Begging to burst as day by day,
Michael is possessing his own skin sack. Ooh, that's awesome. Did they stitch him back together again? I think he's gonna decompose, isn't he?
By week, his flesh began to sag and discolor. He was a walking, talking, rotting corpse. Alive, but wishing he wasn't. He was a puppet, a walking shell. And while he did his best to conceal his fate, there was only so much.
Everyone's looking at him like, Oh, that boy ain't right. You seen that Michael recently? He looks a bit ill.
A man filled with robot spaghetti could do. The entity in his innards would eventually leave, but by that point, the damage had been done. His decaying flesh stank, turning him into a literal purple guy. But still, even with no bones, even with rotting purple flesh and begging to die, Michael continued to live. That's so...
Oh, he's still alive because he has the soul, and it's just been put into a skin sack instead of an animatronic suit. Which means he still must have some kind of animatronics in him because he wouldn't be able to function his limbs without it. Oh god, it's just wires with skin layered on top of it, of a body that he once had. Oh, that's so gross.
Silvery metal remnant injected by the scooper meant that he couldn't die. His anger also refused to die. What he had seen down there in his sister's location had rocked him to his core. His father had killed and captured dozens. His experiments had killed his sister and then tortured him throughout all his childhood. He was actively trying to build human replicants. He didn't know where his father was, but Michael knew that he was out there somewhere.
I've been living in shadows. There is only one thing left.
No, it makes sense that he sounds like that. That kind of shit would age you like 50 years in a night.
What to do now? I'm going to come find you.
Michael had to correct for the sins of his father. He had to make things right. Michael would burn Fazbear Entertainment to the ground. I mean, what else could you do when your skin was
It is crazy that there's a Fazbear Entertainment at this point. There's no way there should be one.
Michael's strategy was simple. He would apply for night security guard positions at the old defunct pizzeria locations. That way, no one ever had to see him or smell him during his shift. And all these old, shuttered locations did need guards. Teenage vandals and squatters were always looking to get inside these abandoned buildings, and yet no one ever really wanted to work an overnight graveyard shift unless they were practically out of options. Enter Mike. One by one, he would take on the job of security guard.
Oh, this is when Five Nights at Freddy's 3 happens.
Each time to ensure that no one was able to follow his paper trail. Once inside, he could tamper with the animatronics and figure out how they worked, writing about...
Wait, so is he the security guard? No, he can't be the security guard in all of the games then. He can't be the security guard in Five Nights at Freddy's 2 or 1?
About his experiences in his security logbook. While there, he would listen to the old tapes where upper management awkwardly welcomed new recruits to their summer jobs, even though he was working there nowhere near the summer.
Oh, he was.
He heard the gory details of his father's franchise from the outside,
security guard in,
confused and afraid about what was happening in the walls around them. Sometimes he would see his brother in the form of the Golden Freddy suit. It's me appearing on the walls around him. Except now, there was something else there.
You know what? That actually makes sense within the context of gameplay as well, because gonna be honest, if I was a security guard being paid like half of minimum wage to go and work security in a place where there is literal animatronics coming to kill me, nah, I'd be out. But he has a reason other than I need a job. He's like, I need to find out what happened in this whole place. I need to get my dad and kill the dad and all that. So he has a reason to actually stick around. Whereas everyone else would scarper by day one.
He was no longer alone. Another angrier presence was also in the suit, as if two spirits were forced to share the same body. And Golden Freddy would attack him now. It was aggressive. Its vengeance wanted to lash out at anyone with the Afton name, anyone who wore a security guard outfit. Over time, Mike worked his way through the old restaurants, the original pizzeria, the bigger, better Freddy Fazbear's. He spent weeks there looking for clues as to his father's whereabouts, and each time at the end of his week shift, he would then set the location on fire. Remnant can't survive high temperatures after all. So burning away whatever spirit-laden animatronics that still existed inside seemed like a winning strategy. All this revisiting of his past, though, was causing the nightmares to begin again. Hallucinations that brought him back to his childhood. The guilt around killing his brother. His dreams were...
It's interesting that a remnant would even need to sleep, because at this point, he's not a living human being. He's just whatever is left after you scoop everything out and leave a soul in it. In theory, he doesn't need to eat. He doesn't need to sleep. So why would he even have nightmares?
Were oddly mixed with the shrill phone calls of the security guards. But it would all be worth it in the end. The goal was to eventually stumble across the one
It might just be a coping mechanism.
One job that would finally reunite him with his father. Little did Mike know that that day would come sooner than he expected. 2023, an advertisement came across Mike's TV. Fazbear Frights, a new horror attraction inspired by the awful crimes that occurred around Freddy Fazbear's Pizza so many years ago. It made Mike sick. People looking to make a quick buck off the tragedy of others, off his own family. This wasn't a joke or entertainment. Regardless, he had to be a part of it. If this team was combing through his family's history, they might stumble across something that could be useful. And if his father was truly still alive as he suspected, there would be no way that he wouldn't show up here. Maybe finally this could be the final chapter in his family's marathon of tragedy. Mike applied for the job and was immediately handed the keys. Years of doing this had taught him that security guards rarely receive thorough security checks.
Looks human. Dude, he doesn't even pass the looks human check. Look at this thing. He doesn't even pass that check. How do you fail the looks human check?
I also liked how creepy Mike looked. They thought it was a costume, on theme for the job.
They thought it was a costume. Yeah, when I apply for jobs, I always walk in costumes. To be fair, I have never actually had a job interview before because all I've done is be a dumb YouTuber all of my working life. So I don't know. Maybe is that something you do generally when you interview for a new job? You walk in a Halloween costume because you want to match the vibe?
Hey, glad you came back for another night. I promise it'll be a lot more interesting this time.
For weeks, there was nothing. But just as Mike considered
everyone in here is brain
dead.
This universe is so...
for years.
You're not gonna believe this. We found one. A real one.
Could this finally be him? Sure enough, there he was. William inside his iconic golden Bonnie Springlock suit, only now it was green and decaying with age. And there they were, a small family of broken men finally reunited. It's been a long time, Dad. Mike had always struggled with the phantoms of his past haunting him, but now all the animatronics he'd encountered over the past months, hopping from pizzeria to pizzeria, suddenly sprang to life, their burned faces haunting him as he tried to keep track of his father on the cameras. It would seem that William's mere presence had put the spirits on high alert. Ultimately, they were harmless, more annoying than anything else, but there was one that felt different from the others, one that was more than just a mere phantom, the security puppet. If he looked at the cameras at just the right moment,
What does the security puppet have to do with anything? Also, if you're going there and you're confronting your dad, finally, at least take an axe. A shotgun, ideally, but take an axe. You can hack that thing to pieces. You don't have to sit there all night and be like, uh-oh, shift's over, time to go home. Take an axe. Take 2 axes. Dual wield. You do more damage if you do a power attack with dual wielding.
He could see it floating there through the halls. He could even see its reflection in the water pooled on the ground. It would seem like he wasn't the only one there on a mission. While he was dealing with Springtrap, Michael assumed that this one was likely dealing with the spirits of this place, finally setting them to rest. Hopefully this means a happier day for all of us, Mike thought to himself. And in that moment, he felt the air around him release, like pressure being let out of a bottle. The building sighed, as if 5 spirits had finally been allowed to move on. He had the sense that his brother was a part of them. He rigged the wiring inside the building to misfire, and the dry, desiccated walls erupted in flames. It is finished. Except, it was not.
Nope. I mean, Springtrap's got to be dead at this point. He's totally donezo. Also, it's crazy that he stuck around for 5 nights. You went out, came back in, went out, came back in. Springtrap the whole time was just like, all right, I'll see you tomorrow. See you later. Goodbye. All right, that's cool. The place gets set on fire. He's like, oh, man. Why'd you wait 5 nights to do that?
Somehow, through sheer force of will, Afton remained. He had survived, and
oh,
Mike
come
would
on.
need to find it.
See, that's why I told you to take an axe for. Dual wield. Double tap. Then you'll know that you won. Just setting the house on fire? Listen, if a death is not confirmed on screen, it didn't happen. If someone dies off screen, they're not actually dead. Dual wield the axe.
A new way of finishing off his father. Luckily, the solution would present itself later that year. Not from Mike, but from another victim that had been left in his father's wake.
We're talking about becoming a Fazbear Entertainment franchisee. Restaurant ownership and management. Something almost anyone can do with a limited degree of success. You are now the face of the newly rebranded Freddy Fazbear's Pizza.
Fazbear Entertainment as a brand had been closed for years. William had been stuck in a suit and a wall. The only person who legally could bring the franchise back was Henry. But he'd largely pulled out of the franchise around the time of his father's disappearance.
Don't act like we care about laws now.
Something was up. Surely this had to be some kind of a trick, right? Mike, doing what he did best, applied for a franchise and immediately got the job. There was just one thing out of the ordinary.
Don't you have to pay a ton of money to buy a franchise? Even if it was like an old defunct franchise with all the kid murdering in the back, they're not just gonna give you that for free.
Paragraph 4.
If you are playing this tape, that means that not only have you been checking outside at the end of every shift, as you were instructed to do, but also that you have found something that meets the criteria of your special obligations under paragraph 4.
No employment.
Special obligation under paragraph 4. If you, the employee, sees any dead kids, ghosts, or living metal animatronics, you will report it directly to corporate, and not the police, Not that it matters, because the police can't do anything in this universe.
The contract he'd ever signed required him to keep special lookout for independently moving animatronics outside the restaurant. Now he knew something was up here. Henry was luring them all back. Rather than trying to go to them, like Mike had done for years, Henry was doing the opposite. He was putting them all under the same roof. He was finishing them off for good. Mike knew this wasn't meant to be a restaurant. It was meant to be a prison, a containment vessel, a locked box meant to trap them all in.
If it's not meant to be a restaurant, then why is there all these pizza ingredients here? He says while making dinner. A pepperoni pizza, I think, today.
So they could finally end the madness. It took a few nights, but eventually everyone was there. His father, the puppet, the robot spaghetti that had once violated his body, and his sister, now hopelessly devoted to serve the man that had once gotten her killed. It was time. He had been instructed to seal the doors and leave, but while he locked everything down, he didn't move on. If this was truly meant to be the end, if the remnant needed to be washed away, he needed to be a part of that.
This is where your story ends. And to you, my brave volunteer, who somehow found this job listing not intended for you. Although there was a way out planned for you, I have a feeling that's not what you want.
Oh, so that's Henry talking to Michael.
That you are right where you want to be. And to you monsters trapped in the corridors, be still and give up your spirits. They don't belong to you. For most of you,
what ending?
I believe there is peace and perhaps more waiting for you after the smoke clears. Although for one of you, the darkest pit of hell has opened to swallow you whole.
Wow.
So don't keep the devil waiting, old friend.
And with that, it was—
Oh my god, dude, what a speech. Is that from the game? That's crazy. And that's it. That's the end of Five Nights at Freddy's.
The Afton legacy died with all of them trapped inside of a literal box.
All the loose ends have been tied up, and that is the end of Five Nights at Freddy's.
Danced around the office. Mike, for the first time in decades, was happy. But William wasn't gone yet. Although the darkest—
come on, dude! Just please try the axes just once. Come on.
The pit of hell was open and waiting for him. Something or someone wouldn't allow him to move on. Instead, he found himself locked in moments from his past. The pizzeria, his son's room, his underground bunker.
That was such a
as if
good
his
ending.
Brain's neurons were all firing at once over.
Yo, that was such a good ending. Why is there more?
Mixing and matching all his biggest fears, regrets, failures. What was this place? How did he get
Is this
here?
Ultimate
Called
Custom
out
Night?
into the silence. Then they started coming. Without warning, animatronics, both new and old, began to jump out at him, bite him, rip him limb from limb. The pain was immeasurable. Make it stop. Make it stop. William, for the first time, longed for death, an end to this torture. Just as it felt like he couldn't take it anymore, everything was quiet again. It was as if the world had been reset. There was a brief moment of quiet, and then the onslaught began again. Dozens of faces
purgatory?
from his past all focused on him. A waking nightmare that he couldn't escape from.
The only thing I could imagine this is after Springtrap gets, like, killed, in theory, his spirit gets put into the fiery pits of hell, which is like a purgatory where he has to relive his mistakes over and over and over again for eternity.
Pain,
that's the only thing I can think this must be.
It was his own personal hell, but why? Why couldn't he just die? And then he saw them, a group of characters he never thought he'd see again. Those janky, stolen
Christ, it's them again.
That started everything. The mediocre melodies. It had all started to go wrong once they showed up, once Henry had made them. But mixed in with their obnoxious southern drawls, William heard something else. It was barely a whisper, but he could just make out the words.
He tried to release you. He tried to release us. But I'm not gonna let that happen. I will hold you here. I will keep you here. No matter how many times they burn us.
That voice. He knew that voice, but from where?
Yeah, whose voice is that? Wait, I guess it could be any of the kids, really. What, the last one? That was the Golden Freddy, the one that they should not have killed. It was the Golden Freddy, because apparently killing that one was too far.
The one he shouldn't have killed. William thought back. He'd done a lot of awful things, but there was always the one that stood out. Not Charlie, his drunken
Why would this
act of
one
revenge.
stood out?
Not Susie, his first true murder, no. Instead, it was the one that he had lost control with. The one that he had broken beyond repair for no good reason other than because he could.
I would argue that all of the other murders were kind of like the same one. There wasn't anything different with this one.
One that he'd stuffed inside the golden bear that his partner used to wear. Cassidy. They were back, and now they were trying to punish him, to make him suffer like he'd made them suffer. It was almost like William and Cassidy's souls had been locked together, fused by a collective rage and spite, each refusing to move on. But while Cassidy was so focused on taking revenge, they actually did the one thing that would be the downfall for so many others. They kept William alive. Even though fire should have destroyed the remnant that was coursing through his being, Cassidy kept William William breathing, paving the way for his escape. William's will was so strong, his soul so
dumb kids. See, this is why we don't give kids any kind of agency. They're idiots.
Powerful that he managed to put a part of himself inside the circuitry that housed the spring-locked suit. And there, his consciousness lay, inside a single circuit board, waiting for someone to find him and set him free. A person that no one would suspect.
Okay, well, there's no people left apart from Henry that has anything to do with this. I can't imagine. Well, the mum's gone. I guess the mum's technically still alive. Henry's the only one I can think of that's still alive to this day.
So a bit of a shorter chunk, but an important one as we shift perspectives to Mike and tell his side of the story. And with FNAF VR, AR, and Security Breach having so much to explain, I didn't want to rush through things by trying to cram it all in here. Don't worry, I know you've all been patient. The final video is happening on March 25th. That is locked, it is getting ready to go. Trust me, I want this thing to be over and done with as much as you. I am not—
Wait, why would Henry die in the fire? I thought Michael was the one that died. Why is Henry there? He shouldn't have even been there in the first place.
Just stretching it
that
out
doesn't
for
make
the views. But before we wrap up for the day, I did want to talk about the big Orville elephant in the room, Mike's quest for revenge. You might have noticed that I was vague about the dates, and there's a good reason for that. I don't know him. There is no good way for me to make him
he says I'm remaining as well?
I do know. Okay. We know with a high amount of certainty that Michael Afton is the character that we play as up until Ultimate Custom Night. Mike Schmidt and Fritz Smith, the security guards—
Seems like a bit of a silly maneuver to game end yourself without double tapping and making sure that everyone else is definitely dead. Because if you're just burning down a building, people have survived burning down buildings before. And Springtrap has survived burning down buildings before. Surely he would know that and want to double tap him with an axe, just to make sure that he's definitely dead before he game ends himself.
For FNAF 1 and FNAF 2 respectively, get fired for, quote, tampering with the animatronics and odor. So weird connection between the two of them, right? But now, look at the phantom animatronics that are haunting us in FNAF 3. They use models from both FNAF 1 and FNAF 2, meaning whoever is sitting in that security guard chair, Fazbear Frights, they have to have seen both locations and their animatronics. And that's not all. Their designs are burnt. It's a weird detail in the game, and it's something that the character encyclopedia repeatedly calls attention to. The burned texture for these phantom animatronics. Why is that so unusual though? Fazbear Frights is the first time in the franchise that we hear about anything burning down. From that point on in the story, it's like the characters turn pyro and are suddenly setting fires left and right. But for the first 3 games, nothing ever catches fire. The animatronics are just moved or repurposed in some way. So when did they burn? And why would our security guards see them as being burned? Someone has to have been going location to location, setting these places on fire, purging the sins of the past. We know we're definitely playing as Mike and sister location in FNAF 6 based on the in-game dialogue. And in FNAF 4, there's an Easter egg where we can hear the phone call from night 1 of FNAF 1, meaning that whoever's in that bedroom has heard the recording as a security guard. We also know that Mike has seen the nightmare animatronic—
Wait, whoever's in the bedroom has heard the recording as a security guard? But that doesn't make sense. I thought the protagonist of that game was it has to be either the crying child or Michael. But why— Oh, my brain is melting. Explain it to me.
So overall, there is solid evidence that connects all of FNAFs 1 through 6. You'll also notice how the character encyclopedia doesn't have a page for Mike Afton. This thing has a page for
So FNAF 1 happens where he's a security guard, and then the FNAF 4 happens, which is the nightmares that he has. So yeah, the FNAF 4 is a dream sequence where he's trying to sleep, but he can't sleep because he keeps having nightmares about
Chocolate Bunny Bonnie, but not Michael? Some tells me they don't want us to confirm how many games he's been in, because that would confirm too much of the theory. In short, this gives us an incredibly compelling and complete narrative. Mike as our protagonist, and William, his father, as our antagonist. Mike accidentally kills his brother in Fredbear's mouth, which begins our story and sets William down his pathway of destruction. Mike is then haunted by the guilt of his past and is looking to make things right across the rest of the games. In Sister Location, he learns what his father's been up to and realizes what he has to do to correct it. After failing to finish the job in FNAF 3, he ultimately helps Henry end it all in FNAF 6. It is great. It is a clean narrative.
It is a good ending, so why the fuck is there more games?
Just one problem: timing. Mike's quest can't really start until he's been down to Sister Location, seen Baby, and gotten himself scooped. That's when he finds out about Afton's secret life. It's also when he's gonna start to smell, because, you know, he's a walking, talking, rotting corpse. And we know that he's not going down into the bunker until the Funtime animatronics have been made, Freddy's has been closed, and Afton is out of the picture. That all should be—
So FNAF 1 can't happen until all of that has already happened.
Post 1993, after William is sealed behind—
So sister location has to happen before Five Nights at Freddy's 1.
Wall, but that then presents us with a few problems. Afton has already dismantled the original animatronics as we see in the FNAF 3 mini.
But he's already dismantled all the original animatronics, so Five Nights at Freddy's 1 it can't happen after that. After sister location. Ooh, that doesn't make sense.
Games. How are those things getting burned if they're already deconstructed? But more importantly, we see FNAF 2 paychecks with the date 1987. That is way earlier than I think it can be. To be fair, Fritz Smith's pink slip on night 7 doesn't have a date, but it's a bit weird to say that the first few nights are in 1987 and then employee number 3 is hired on years after the restaurant closes. Anyway, just wanted to call that out because I don't have a solid answer for it, and
I have a solid answer for it. There is one guy making these video games, and he did not have a solid plan. Like, Oda does not have a solid plan for One Piece when he writes chapter 1 about how everything is going to be lined out in timing and how every event is going to occur. There was a game that did really well, and he was like, oh man, I kind of have to capitalize on it. So he made more games, and he made a really extensive lore that people really got into, but ultimately, there's going to be errors in it. And that's just how humans work, and you're not going to find a perfect solution for everything. But I will say that whole Afton storyline, the way that has been put together, is pretty compelling. And it does have some errors in it, and it does have some mistakes, but that's fine because humans make errors and humans make mistakes, but it was a cool story. So why the fuck are there more games?
Love to see your comments down below. And with that, my friends, this chapter comes to a close.
Until the next one! Yeah, that's okay. It's okay to have issues, right? It's okay to have like inconsistencies in a story. I think it's totally fine. You can't expect everything to make complete sense, and I think that any theory that has come together, like I have a theory that makes everything make complete sense. There's going to be problems in yours as well that are just different, and that's completely okay. We do have to wait until, wait, what's the date today? We have to wait until March 25th until the last one, so obviously we can't watch the last one today. More money! Yeah, basically you make more games because you want to make more money. Also, I will say that after all that, I am still convinced that Subnoodle is the perfect mascot because Subnoodle is not an animatronic, and Subnoodle will not come alive and eat you entirely whole. It will not kill children, and it will not act as a vessel for you to have your body taken over by the souls of dead kids when they shove their metal wiring inside of you. Subnoodle will never do that. Promise. Subnoodle is perfect. We love Subnoodle very much. Subnoodle doesn't have that's not a stomach mouth. It's hair, okay? It's not a stomach mouth. Can you cite where Scott Cawthon has confirmed that? No, I can't cite where fucking Scott Cawthon has confirmed that. What do you mean? But where is that confirmed? All right. Scott Cawthon didn't make Subnoodle. I made Subnoodle, and I'm confirming it because of all the Subnoodle lore. I create Subnoodle lore, all right? I'm making new Subnoodle lore right now. Subnoodle has never killed a child before. This is me confirming the lore of Subnoodle that he has not done child murder. All right? That is a confirmed piece of lore now. All right, that is confirmed. And none of you can disprove that because I make the law. Okay? What about adult murder? No. Well, okay. Well, we don't have to. Guys! It's been a great stream, but I'm about to upload an absolutely fantastic video to the main channel. And we'll come back and we'll finish off this whole React series on the 25th of March when that video goes up. Poggers, you can become a member to my channel, please. We're almost at 750 members, and I would really appreciate it if you support the channel and become a member, because you can get early access to videos. Anyway, I'm gonna upload a big video on the main channel. You're gonna see it in your sub box. It's really, really good. I promise, it's really good, so you should definitely watch it.